Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that. What's up, everybody? This is the SML podcast. I am your host, Joe. Joining as usual, Cole. How are you doing?
I didn't die between the last show and this one, so I guess I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
It's a low bar these, last few years, but...
Yeah, it's a low bar, but...
Yeah.
As long as you clear it, that's all that matters, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We have a fun show lined up today. Pernell and Chris are here. How are you two doing?
I did die between the last episode and this one, but it was quite an adventure coming back to life. Let me tell you, boy, the battles, the items, the love triangles, everything. It's just been a whirlwind, and now I'm back.
I feel like none of these things have happened.
They all happened.
I've seen Pernell's Facebook feed.
That was all posted by a surrogate.
Oh, okay.
The way I know he's lying is because he didn't play La Mulana in that story.
Right?
No, the story was La Mulana. What do you think the adventure was?
Chris, how are you doing?
I don't know, because I was going to make the exact same joke that Pernell made, and he got to it first, and now I just don't know how I feel.
You had a different adventure.
His did include La Mulana.
He had to beat La Mulana to come back to life. It was a real bear.
But it's not just us this week. We have a special guest joining us, our first actual guest of 2021, coming back to the show for some unknown reason. David Ventura of Ichigoichie. How are you doing today?
Just fine. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm running at I don't want to mix any metaphors. I'm hitting on all four cylinders.
Nice.
Imagine actually being able to hit on all four cylinders. I haven't done that in so long.
How many cylinders are you rocking, Cole?
I don't know that I even have a cylinder left.
She's like, I'm hitting all four rhombuses.
Just an empty tin can rattling around in there.
I was up till 5 a.m. painting last night. And so I'm just a shell of myself existing at the moment.
Well, we hear enough from you guys enough the way it is. So let's hear from David. David, how have you been doing? It's been a couple of months since you've been on the show. What have you been up to?
All kinds of stuff, actually. We finished out the year with some expansion for Hexagroove, adding in the European Festival expansion, and released that both on Switch and on Steam in December. And in parallel to that, we've been working on our next game, actually, and we are really ratcheting up the pace right now and cranking out all kinds of stuff. So it's a very exciting time at the studio right now.
Anything you're able to talk about with the new game?
Not just yet, really. I mean, I can tell you what I've been vaguely what kind of things I've been doing, but I can't give you a setting or a place or a time or anything like that. But
hey, tell us what you're allowed to tell us. We're happy with whatever details you're able to share with us.
Yeah, well, you wanted to talk a little bit about Gitaroo Man today, right?
So obviously, yes.
I can make some good comparisons there, analogies and things like that while we were talking about that. So
if you're making a spiritual successor to Gitaroo Man, take my money now.
Well,
you can take two of my monies.
Okay, like I said, I'm not going to talk about what the game is like, so it's not a spiritual successor, but it does. There are lots of learnings, I think, and as an artist, we learn from everything that we create, and we look back at what we've done, the things that have influenced us, and you take a bit of that art, and you can't escape it, and it's going to be with you, I think, with everything that you produce over the course of your career. So those are really interesting things for me to look back at now, because it was such such an innocent kind of title. It was the first title that Ennis made, and that was just 20 years ago now. So it's the 20th anniversary of Gitaroo Man.
Wow.
And see how the technology has changed in 20 years from the PS2 and now with the PS5.
I actually just had a weird thought too. They'd make a good combination for you in that sense, because Hexagroove was a game where you played as a DJ and you were performing for a group, and Gitaroo Man was essentially musicians battling each other to the death. You could totally do a game which would basically be battle, like dueling DJs, but an actual war as opposed to just like them performing. Yeah. And the performance is the blood battle, and it's like, oh my god, this is amazing! Attack!
Imagine clans of orcs like beating the crap out of each other with vinyl records. And
yes,
yeah. See, I'm in.
Throw CDs like in. Revolution X.
Music is the weapon, don't they say? Oh my god! But yes, I would totally play that. But also, if that's not in any way whatsoever what you're working on, I'm still interested in whatever it is you're working on because Hexagroove.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. With this next game, I don't know if you guys have heard of like the second system effect, where like when you get around to making the second of any number of things that you're producing, you kind of fall into a trap. You're like, well, this time we're going to do it right. We're going to add this. We're going to add that, and it ends up becoming a sinkhole quite more often than not, where you kind of get sucked in and then become fall a fell of trying to fix everything from the first time. And on the other hand, there's incredible enthusiasm, to do something. Well, we didn't get to have this in the last game, so we definitely want to have this. So with this game, this game does have a story, and the story is a big part of this game. So I'm working now, writing characters and plot summaries and like setting up the world that the game takes place in and things like that. And that's very, it's got me clicking all the time. I can hardly sleep. I'm so excited putting this together right now.
When you write a story and the result is excitement and insomnia, I think that's already, you're well on your way in and of itself, because it's not even work. It's just passion now. Yeah. And the passion will fire everything up.
That's definitely where it is. And we have a really great art team this time too. We're trying some new things artistically as well that I'm really looking forward to showing with everyone.
How big of a team do you guys have on this one?
The team is actually right now is even smaller than Gitaroo Man, or excuse me, than Hexagroove, but it'll probably grow over time. But the number of people involved with the game at an earlier stage is larger than Hexagroove, so it has more foundation work going on than Hexagroove. Hexagroove was a very bootstrap type game where it was all about the music and it was all about the game design. And a lot of the work that happened before production began was just me working alone and like putting stuff on whiteboards and then collaborating part-time with my co-founder when he had time from his other companies. And it was like a 1.3 man project all the way up to production. And then we dumped a bunch of people into it and started cranking stuff out. But now, this time in pre-production, we have artists together with us from the beginning. So graphic concerns and design. I've been working on art direction and making an art Bible and sketching out all these different things about what's the iconography and the colors and the palette and what's the design language visually that we want to have in the game before we even start production. So that's something which is really good. I think it's normally something you're supposed to do when you're creating games.
Well, just saying, if by some chance you decide that you want to have a special character that is a Cronenberg of the SML cast, that would be pretty freaking awesome. Just saying. Just
put Pernell in the game.
About a character with two metal bats, like swinging them around in his backyard or something.
Yes, that guy.
Pernell with two metal bats.
He's been training his whole life for this moment.
Hey, I've been in a fighting game before, so I've done my time in a game. Pernell, we need to see you in a video game now.
Yeah, I've also been in a game.
What game have you been in?
It's called Battle Legend Infinity. And it was me and the old Descendants of Erdrick personnel.
Oh, that's
way
cool.
back in the day. It was a mobile game.
You'll have to link that later because I do want to see that.
It's ridiculous.
Were you actually, Joe too.
Were you like a sage or like a junior character, or what kind of role was it?
Well, it was all the bandmates were like 4 RPG characters. I guess you could choose. Well, we were 5 people, but you could choose 4 of us to do like an endless tower type of battle situation. And my character was kind of the black mage.
Cool.
Kind of.
The funny part, I don't even see you as the black mage. You seem like you'd be more of the sage character or like a white mage.
Right.
Chris the Paladin.
It's got a dark
side. It wasn't.
I
I had no creative input over my own portrayal. So, which is good because I would have just done something really dumb that would have made everybody unhappy.
I'm the guy who ties the bad shoes. You get farther in the tower that way.
Exactly. I can't be trusted with something like that.
Oh, I'd still play it though.
Nice.
Oh my!
What fighting game were you in, Joe?
I was in Battle High 2 A+ on the Xbox.
Wow.
They needed a DLC character, and the developer of the game was on the show, and he liked my voice and asked me if I would record a couple lines, and now I'm in a fighting game.
Wow, that's really cool. I actually did not know that.
See, that's why you need to share, because we need to see a move set. We got to hear those lines. We need the whole shebang now. It's
there's not much to it. There's like a voice effect on top of it, so you can't really super easily tell it's me. And there's not too many lines, but I don't know, it's cool. It was cool seeing my name in the credits and a thank you to the SML podcast in the credits of a game. That was neat to see. It felt special.
Yeah, for sure.
We've only been doing this for 8 years, so take the little victories where we could get them.
Oh, come on. How many video games is Joe Rogan in?
Gee, what?
Why Joe Rogan?
Because he's an extremely famous podcaster.
Yeah, true.
His name starts with Joe.
Yeah, he's also a Joe.
I just think his name starts with him
Joe.
With Fear Factor in UFC.
Do what?
I think of him with Fear Factor in UFC.
Oh, I see. I forgot about that he was in UFC as well.
Yeah, commentating. So, this new game of yours, David, it sounds like it's still a ways off.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a bit more time. Yeah.
Couple years or like 1-2 years, something like that. It's still way too early to tell.
I think it's too early to tell, but me personally, I don't really like to spend more than 18 months on a project total if I can help it, just because I got ideas. I want to move on and look at the next thing and see how it flies.
Shit to do.
Yeah, all kinds of things rattling around in my brain.
What else is rattling around in your brain? You just more ideas for games or more ways to improve Hexagroove?
Yeah, I mean, those kind of things too, I guess. But our company, making games is our primary thing, but we're also a solutions provider. So we do contracting for other game developers as well. Their companies, we build like special audio tech, and some machine learning stuff and things like that. And it would be nice to collaborate with another studio on a game too, to work together just to get another company's perspective and their style and create a fusion. So I'm really excited about trying something like that too.
Any dream studios you would like to work with?
No, I can't think there's anyone in particular. I think I would like to work on more of like an artsy kind of game, or like, something that's really kind of groundbreaking or trying to redefine a genre or something like that. So probably nothing super big, probably maybe a smaller studio or kind of an artsy kind of place that would suit us well.
I would be interested to see that. I always love seeing companies collaborate.
I mean, that's how we got Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Honestly, that still amazes me how prominent that game is. Like, it's still is like top of the pops for people when it comes to like RPG game discussion. So it's like the best example for so many things, including likely collaborations now.
Yeah, it's like the pinnacle of RPGs in my eyes, the same way that like Gitaroo Man is near the pinnacle of rhythm games for me. Like it does everything I want a game to do, and it does it perfectly.
It kind of blows your mind. It's a beast and a gem. And I only learned fairly recently that the original composer, like, he deserves all the love he can get for that, because it actually got him put in the hospital. Like, he worked that hard on it. That he got hospitalized doing it. Like, it's like he deserves all the kudos in the world for that OST and the work he put into it.
That's going to be Cole with this show. This show's going to put her in the hospital, and she's just going to keep soldiering through and doing reviews. And
I'll just be like, oh, well, I'm Pernell now and using my phone.
That's right. No, you'll make friends at the hospital, and they'll ultimately let you smuggle in a microphone.
Yeah. Remember those like
my
those
boss
long
is coming.
stick mics we had in the early 2000s? I'll have one of those and be podcasting with it.
Just hanging out the door.
Yeah.
Hurry up, my boss is making his rounds.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time this show was done in a hospital. So
that's right. Didn't you do one during the hospital stay?
Yeah, it was an E3 episode too.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just the passion burns. It's like, look, there's work to be done.
Hey, these were the early days of the show when I was like, I don't want to miss a week at all, and we already missed 1 week because of Tim back then. And I was like, well, I have back surgery, but why don't you come down to the hospital and we'll just record an episode there? Ha 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 ha. And I was on painkillers the entire time, and the nurse was coming in during the show checking my vitals. That's
what makes it a good recording, though, in a way, because you might get that one person like, that's not very professional. And the response should be, shut up. It doesn't need to be. It's fun.
We're not professional. I think it's very clear after 8 years that we are not professional.
We're real.
So, David, what speaks to you about coming on our show?
Well, I mean, and obviously, Joe, your voice is the biggest draw for me. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that your colorful collection of collaborators is also quite amusing. So
alliteration.
I'd like to be a part of that.
The Rogues Gallery.
I can't slink jokes like you guys, though. So I just enjoy just sitting here and listening to you guys help each other.
I do love a good alliteration. I have to point that out.
And the thing about jokes is jokes are such a strange thing in itself, too, because like I've had people make comments about, they'll hear you talk on shows and stuff, like, oh, man, you're hilarious. I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, yes, you are. I've heard the shows you do. And I'm like, yeah, but I think that's just being present. Like when you chat with each other, stuff comes out of your head. But if you just have me sitting in a corner, okay, no, make everyone laugh. I'm like, well, the soda's good. It tickles my tongue. And then when I'm done, I burp. Like, I don't know how to make people laugh outside of just like being present. That's all I got. So which in turn means that I feel like sometimes humor is just about just having fun, just interacting with your friends and who you're hanging out with. Which in turn means what I'm saying is that you've told quite a few slingers on this show. You just don't realize it.
We've talked before about my anxiety bucket and how sometimes I have to puke before the show because I get stressed out doing it. And I've just decided that like that's the process that removes my brain to mouth filter so that I can say the dumb shit that sounds funny.
Yes.
And then it just regenerates over the course of the few days that we're not recording. And then I just have to puke it out again. That's my brain to mouth filter, exiting the dance floor, if you will.
Exiting
What does your
floor.
family think about it, Cole? Is your family supportive of you doing, like, do they give you your space in your room and your silence?
Yeah, because my computer and everything, like, I have a huge computer set up. I work as a digital artist, and so all of this is set up here right smack in the middle of the living room. And so my husband is like, oh, I'll take the dogs and I'll go in the bedroom. We'll watch a show back there, keep the dogs quiet. My daughters right now, all three of them, I have 2 teenagers and an 8-year-old. And they are all just locked up in their sister's room like, yeah, we're going to go watch a movie. We got some snacks. We'll see you in an hour. So they just, everybody kind of just flows with it.
Yeah, that's great.
That's cool.
And my sister's the harder part, and she doesn't even live with me. But like the moment Joe hit the call button, my sister sent me a message, and my sister, if she sends 3 messages and I don't answer, she calls immediately, and she can type fast.
You there? You there? You there? Ring, ring, ring.
Yep. And I was like, it popped up and it said my sister's name and it said hi, and I went, oh shit.
Anybody that calls me out of concern for me is not a true friend.
Damn. That's how you really feel, Chris.
I have to point out, there's a big age gap between me and my sister. And we have
a boomer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She just turned 50.
Oh, okay.
Or no,
that makes sense then.
She's 51 now. Yeah, she turned 51. So, I mean, there's a big age gap between me and her. And So our approaches to things like that, where I'm like, don't you fucking call me. I don't ever pick up the phone. My sister's like, she didn't answer after I said hi. I gotta show up on her doorstep. That's a joke. She's never been to my house. I've lived here for 16 years. But she's afraid of the woods. She won't come all the way out here, but she will call.
I can respect that. She's probably seen Wrong Turn.
Yeah. She's like, well, the first time that I tried to come out here to visit at the time he was my boyfriend, and we made a wrong turn and we found ourselves staring at a service road for the lake, and we were 3 inches from the water, and I was like, yep, that wasn't right turn.
That scares the tar out of your person, man. If you're not familiar with back roads and stuff like that regularly, and doubly so if you don't have the most reliable car, no.
Yeah. I have used the line before when it comes to finding where I live. Once you run out of blacktop, you're almost here. And you're even closer when you run out of gravel.
Park your car and get on your bike.
Yep.
At that point.
I did the dirt road life before. I spent a summer living in Arkansas with some friends, the Creeches, and they lived 3.5 miles down a dirt road.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not even that far. I'm 1.5 miles.
It was awful because it was just a rock road and the dust that would kick up. My van was dusty for years afterwards.
Whoever owns that van can still turn on the windshield wipers, and if there's no fluid in it, they're just gonna get dust up from 16 years ago. That is a whole ass thing. We live a little up on an embankment. A lot of people will call it a hill. It seems weird for me to call it a hill because for us it's just not that dramatic. But we live up on this little embankment, and so we can see quite a bit up the road. And you can always tell when a car is coming, even from about 1/4 mile or so away. And I say that people are like, that's not hard to see, but trust me, when everything is trees and hills, seeing 1/4 mile is pretty special. And so you can see dust clouds start rising up off of the road. You can't see the car. You can't see whatever 4-wheeler or dirt bike is causing it, but you know somebody is coming because you can see dirt clouds rising up into the trees.
The mind's eye goes to work.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, that's, and depending on time of day it is, because so few people come up here, you're like, oh, I know who that is. Oh, UPS is coming. I guess I better put a bra on before I go outside.
I mean, I guess it's an interesting trip. On one hand, the seclusion and isolation can be nice as far as relaxation goes, but I gotta wager there's occasionally periods where I've had too much of this. I need noise. You just put on a radio recording of a city and cars honking and crap.
No,
just to make
we lived in a city we lived down in Richmond, Kentucky, which is not even a city by real people's measures, but for us,
they like.
Here it's a population of 45 now, I think it is. And so, I mean, it's not a lot of people. So when you live somewhere like Richmond where there's it's 10 or 15,000 people and you're like, this is stupid. We lived in a townhouse smack in the middle unit and it was miserable. You could hear people doing things and cars, and there were bars, and it was just I don't like this, and you could not pay me to go back to that. I absolutely love the seclusion. The only thing I miss is pizza delivery. There's you can't DoorDash shit here, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to give up DoorDash. I smoke too much to give up DoorDash.
You can't just call somebody up or whip out an app and be like, bring me some yummy ass food. That doesn't happen because
I'm sure someone would take the call if you paid them enough. Look, I got $75. I just need you to drive this pizza to me.
Yeah, but then you could just go. I mean, it's 15 miles just to get to a restaurant.
Yeah, fuck that.
Fuck that to me. If I want to treat myself, that would be worth the pay.
We're and when I say to a restaurant, I mean like to a McDonald's, to a Taco Bell. We're not even talking good restaurants. If you want to go,
we're not
to
even talking Outback.
I gotta say though,
go to Outback, you're gonna go 60 miles north.
I gotta say though, dating out there must be tons easier though. It's like, oh, my baby loves me. He took me out to Taco Bell. Oh, snap. He drove 15 miles to Taco Bell. He treated me right.
Hey, don't shit talk the fast food. Ashley and I, the first time we met was at a McDonald's parking lot.
See, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, I've had moments where, like, I want to be that level of simple, and people are like, I guess this is okay. I'm like, come on, I'm broke. This is what I'm doing right now. Are you hungry or not?
There just aren't other options here. Like, we have the movie theater is, again, 15 miles. Or 60 if you want to go to the one that actually has more than 3 screens. The one that's 15 miles from here only has 3 screens. Huh?
Do they get recent films at least?
Yes, but they'll be like really selective about what they get. There was a horror movie that came out a couple years ago, and I wanted to see it, and they didn't have it, so they just replayed God's Not Dead 2. And I was like, okay, well.
I do like the Newsboys.
I can do without this in my life. So, I mean, that's a whole ass thing. But, like,
whole ass thing.
A whole ass. Not like you don't half ass showing God's Not Dead 2. You have to whole ass it.
How did we get to this conversation?
I don't even remember.
That's how you know it's a good conversation.
You want me to say old?
I think you asked David what he likes about this show.
We just
It's true. I think that's where it started.
That's where it all began.
I like the fact that I could come on your show and no one else shuts up, so I don't have to talk.
Easiest interview ever.
Come on, it's not whole truth.
True though.
So let's talk about something a little more topical. Normally we handle our news on the even numbered episodes. This is an odd numbered episode, hence Chris and Pernell being here. But Xbox Live just went through an up and down day of craziness.
Yeah, it was. They were testing the waters, and those waters were murky.
Yeah. Xbox Live, normally $10 a month, $60 for a year. People have been used to that for 18 years now. Okay, 10 years it's been this price for $60. Normally it was 50, went up to 60. Not a big deal. Xbox announced that they were going to do a price change, and on the surface, it didn't seem bad because it was going from $10 a month, $9.99 a month to $10.99 a month, which on the surface doesn't seem like a horrible deal. 3 months went from $24.99 to $29.99 a month. Not an awful big deal. Then the $59.99 cards became the big deal. What was a 1-year membership for $60 turned into a 6-month membership for $60. And there was no longer a 1-year option, effectively doubling the price of Xbox Live from $60 to $120 a year.
And Microsoft, they're real hard up for money.
But
what I find amazing though is the fact that, like, normally in most cases when you see these price hikes, like for example, next gen console games went up $10, and people were like, "Well, if you're not poor, you're fine." Like, you get those people. I didn't see a single person doing that defense for this price. Like, no one was like, "Well, gee, you can afford a sandwich, you can afford Xbox Live. Shut up and pay." Everyone was upset about this thing.
Yeah, it was just a shit decision. Obviously, it's clear that they're trying to push people towards Game Pass.
In the interest of fairness, because it keeps getting glossed over. If you already had a 12-month subscription, when it renewed, you were going to keep that price.
Yes, as long as you had automatic renewal.
Yeah. So, there was some grandfathering in, and it was really meant to capture up new subscriptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, because for people like me, I've never been, and that comes with bills and everything. I've never been much a fan of the renewal element, because in my mind, I know there's going to be an easy solution, mind you, but in my mind, my logic is I don't know my financial state month to month like that. So it's I feel
you gotta set yourself up where you can skip town occasionally.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or if I need to shut everything down, I don't have to go back. Oh crap! I'm already set the auto pay in the next week. Shoot, I gotta turn it off. I don't want to deal with it. So my logic is I'll pay when I need it, and I'm good. So even though I was an Xbox Live subscriber for years and years, I never throughout that entire time used auto renew. And the times when they tried to force it on me, I manually went in and canceled it because I didn't want it. So
I would rather buy prepaid cards.
Exactly.
Pernell's got a van of burner phones just in case he has to go off the grid. You know what I mean?
Nobody knows. Nobody has to know.
Melee weapons and burner phones.
That's why he sounds different every week, because he's using a new burner.
Hello, my name is Lynn Rep Schmorp. How's everyone doing today?
Mr. Schmorp, are you interested in a auto-renewing Xbox Game Pass?
Get off my lawn,
Mr. Schmorp, we need to talk to you about your car's extended warranty.
Oh, they're not getting away. They'll find my damn burner number and everything. Shoot, those numbers are everywhere. But I feel weird about that too, especially because when it comes to, I know over the years, PSN and Xbox Live got into the habit of hey, we'll give you these, free 1 or 2 games every month, to go along with your membership. But the thing that bugs me is that at the core, Xbox Live and PSN and Switch Lite, or whatever the Switch membership is called, the genuine intention is supposed to be you buy this so you can play with your friends on the internet, essentially, right? And I'm not 100% sure about how taxing that is on them financially to have that service running, just the ability to have servers available for people to utilize. But it feels like I never really got the impression that it was worth the price we're being charged. We just kind of accepted it because we wanted it enough and we were willing to justify that price for that purpose. But I never liked paying it. I just accepted it. So it seemed really odd to me. They were like, well, now it's $120. I was like, what are you doing to justify this? Where's this coming from? I never got it. You guys are all gamers too. Did you feel as though, we all accepted the paying of it, but did you genuinely feel that it was paying this much to play online, this makes sense? Did it ever make sense to you?
To me, I'm not paying for the online. I'm paying for the games with gold, honestly, which doesn't make sense because games with gold was just an add-on to Xbox Live Gold. When it first started, it was literally just online play. And then they added games with gold after PlayStation Plus took off. Games with gold was supposed to be, just a few months they were going to do it. And then it turned out so well that they kept doing it. Does anyone else remember that?
Yeah.
I do recall that.
And they just kept at it. And now they're improving it. And it looks like next month we're getting 5 games instead of 4, which we'll talk about on our next episode when we actually do handle all the news.
One thing I am curious about is that, you can say, Gears 5 is in Game Pass and all that, and pretty much everybody has access to it if you have Game Pass or already owns the game. But including Gears 5 and Games with Gold has not included any games that were specifically Series X enhanced. And it kind of feels like they're starting to maybe try to push in that direction where they can be we're including this in Games with Gold, that it is specifically for the Series X or Series X enhanced.
Yeah, kind of like how PlayStation added Bug Snacks and
right.
Worms.
And so it feels like they're trying to go that way. And if that's the path that they were trying to go, can you still say that Gold wasn't worth it?
In that regard, my logic becomes if they're going to offer high value games on the Games with Gold program, I can definitely respect that in that regard because, like you said, it's a $60 game, or I guess now $70 game at launch, and you're getting it.
No, just
to
$60
play
on
for
Xbox.
Free.
Gears is still $60.
Oh, they kept it at $60.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be $60 game, and they're like, "Hey, it just came out, it's $60. Here you go." That I can respect for sure. But what it comes down to then for me is, okay, let's say you're someone like me, where I'm a different demographic type for them. Because even before SML, I generally just bought the games I wanted to play. I was never big on subscription plans. So I was like, okay, I'm good with just buying the games I want to buy, but I need to play online. Is there an option you can give to people like me who don't want the free games every month and can just pay less solely to go online? Like, that would make sense to me then.
Do they still do the silver accounts? They used to do Xbox Silver, and it let you
Silver
play
didn't
online.
let you play online. No, it didn't.
Oh, did it not?
Nope. You
That's
always
right.
needed gold to play online.
You're right. You're right.
And that's the hiccup. It's like, if I just want to play online, despite them offering this other element, if I don't want that element, I should be able to pay less for the specific element that I do want, especially if they're using that to justify the hike.
Multiple tiers.
Yeah, and
People
to be fair, again, Xbox Gold was all about paying to play online. The games with gold was a later added bonus.
Yeah.
So
unlike PlayStation Plus, where it was the reverse, where PlayStation Plus, you got the games, and then they forced online into PlayStation Plus.
Mm-hmm. And trust me, like I agree with all that. It's like, that's why my lead-in was that we generally accepted the paying of it because it was just what you did. You wanted it, you paid for it. But just because that, it doesn't mean we particularly like, this is a great deal. It's more like, I'm doing it because I really want this and I'll deal with it. But then when it came time to suggest a hike in price, it becomes a question of, okay, so if anything, it just brought it back to the limelight, the spotlight of saying, okay, so what am I paying for exactly that you were willing to try to double the cost of it? And I know there was like the logic of like, it's likely they were trying to get you to buy Ultimate, and it was just like, well, a better deal, I spent $10 more, but it doesn't change the question that that arises, which is, okay, so if you were going to ultimately go with this, and let's say the uproar wasn't huge, let's say we did get a lot of people that said, well, just pay for it, sucker, and they just ran with it. Then you have people like me going, well, I like playing online with my friends, but I really don't want anything else that's being provided. I just want to play with my friends. Like, there should be talks like this of like, okay, if you just want to play games online with your friends, pay this much. If you want our boutique, pay this price. And I'm sure they would get plenty of people that would pay that price because folks like yourselves are like, I like the idea of getting free games every month. And with Ultimate, it's even better. So it's like, but
then you have a third tier, and you got to wonder how many tiers is too many. Some people think 2 tiers with gold and Ultimate is too many. And I think
that's an interesting element too. Like the question of what is too many tiers, right? But I think when it comes to inquiries of like how much is too much, it's not necessarily about, the quantity so much as like what the difference is in the quantities, and the individual items within the quantity. Like it's one thing to say, hey, we have this cable plan and there's a tier for every 5 channels leading up to 60 channels, right? That's a lot of tiers. And the difference between them is very small and minor, right? But if the tiers were literally online access only, online access with this Games with Gold program, and then Ultimate, not only is that really not a ton of tier options, but it's also a distinct difference between them, and the price difference would reflect that too. It wouldn't be that thing where it's like, all right, I got to sit here with my pen and paper, and I need a mathematician and someone to really explain to me why these are so different. It's a very straightforward description. So it's like, okay, I want that.
If you do it that way, those free games with gold now have an associated price tag, and they're not free anymore.
So then that becomes the question then of like,
so the online price is $59.99 for a year. Games with gold is $0. That's what the pricing is.
Games with gold is $0. Oh, because that comes with the product.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Online play is what you're paying for. The games with gold is a free bonus. So if you were to remove games with gold, you would still be paying the same price for just online play.
So in that regard, it comes back to the $120 price jump. So at that point, would it be justified to say like you're paying $120 to pay online with people, and the games with gold is $0? Because with the explanation of justifying it was, well, you're getting this game that retails for $60 for free. If that is $0 and technically not really what you're paying for, should that really be factored into the value?
I don't even know if Xbox tried justifying what they were doing because they reversed course so quickly. It's like we're talking about this price increase longer than Xbox did.
Longer than it existed.
It was literally 14 hours. They came out and said, you know what? We fucked up. You guys were right. We listening. We're going back. We are not doing the price increase. And on top of that, we're going to work on making free-to-play games completely free and no longer require gold.
That would be a good idea for sure.
That's what they're doing.
And that would include like subscription games like Final Fantasy 14, right?
Well, Final Fantasy 14 isn't on Xbox yet. Apparently, they're working on it. I don't know, but yeah, anything that is free to play would no longer require gold.
I think David was about to say something.
Yeah, sorry. As someone who does not have any online subscription for gaming, personally, I just want to point out that as a consumer, I'm kind of irritated by the fact that trophies are tied to having online play. I don't know if Xbox does that, but PlayStation does. So, like, I love Uncharted and I love The Last of Us, and I've played those backwards, forwards, sideways. But I have only like a 70% trophy completion rate because 30% of the trophies involve having a PlayStation subscription and doing online multiplayer.
Yeah, you're going to find that in all games.
Yeah,
and I think that's really kind of cheap if you ask me. But I mean, again, if I paid the premium price for AAA game, I just want to have the experience. I don't think me having all the trophies should be limited to I have to embrace the entire paradigm of the platform to get a platinum trophy or something like that. I think they should have separate trophies just for people that play online or something like that. It kind of irritates my OCD of being like, I'm really good at this game, but I don't play it online. So, my gamer score is only 70% what it could be.
It's interesting you say that too, because like I've heard that argument though phrased differently from other friends, where they didn't phrase it in the sense of like, why do I need to have online to do this so much? As like I just straight up don't want to play online. I just want to play the game and be done with it. So why am I required to play with other humans to get this done? And it's like I agree with that. Like, what if I just want to play the game as it is? Now, admittedly, that would be different for a game like, say, Apex Legends or Fortnite or something where they're purely online experiences. But, yeah, I agree with you. Like, something like Last of Us, which is a primarily narrative experience, like, why do I need to go online to claim that I got a full experience of the game? I don't want that.
The original Tomb Raider reboot that they did on 360 and PS3 was an incredible incredible single player experience, and it had the shittiest tacked on multiplayer. That it was just an awful add-on edition, and it had achievements tied to it. And I was like, well, I'm never going to complete this game because that multiplayer sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, didn't they get rid of it when they ported it over to Xbox One and PS4? Did they get rid of the multiplayer? I don't remember.
I don't know, but I can't say that they did. I mean, that they didn't, then no one really talked about them leaving it in. So if anything, I wager they did. Like, there was no talk of it at all. A depressing afterthought of a mode.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Let's spin the conversation around. Talk about something positive. Yeah.
Positive things.
Collector's editions.
I was just going to say, talking about spending a lot of money on live, how about spending a lot of money on collector's editions? Do you think collector's editions are getting a bit out of hand? We have THQ, who's putting out like $400 SpongeBob collector's editions. Are these necessary?
Whoa. I need details on this abomination. What is that?
Yeah,
what?
there's a $400, or it might be a $300 SpongeBob collector's edition. There's a $400 Destroy All Humans collector's edition that comes with like a 2-foot tall alien statue. It's like, how ridiculous can these collector's editions get?
I notice also the small distributors are starting to do that too. Like the Scott Pilgrim limited run has a $400 special edition.
I've been thinking about this a lot over the last few years, and it's kind of funny that it's coming full circle right now. And that, like, I used to be that guy. I started with Working Designs, and Working Designs had these really cool special editions that were mainly just part of the product. You paid base price and got all this cool stuff, and it felt nice. And then around like the 32-bit gen era, we started seeing more companies that were like, hey, here's this special version that's different from this one. And you might pay like $10 more for it. And it was like, okay, that's a fraction of the cost. But the issue that I experienced first when it comes to collector's editions is that due to the fact that more people were getting in on it, I realized that, one, I had become compulsive with the need to get a collector's edition for every game that I bought that had one. Like, it wasn't even about how much do I love this game. It's just, it has a CE. I have to get it. So I was doing that. And then the second problem arose, which was I lost a lot of space because I have these giant boxes with things that when it comes in the mail, I open it up, say, oh, that's a really cool sticker book. I'm not going to open it, though. I'm just going to put it back in the box and claim I own it. So now I have
Who in the world would use a sticker book?
Like, I kid you not. I was cleaning up the other day.
Okay.
I found an Infamous 2 messenger bag that has the sly raccoon, whatever his name is. It has a logo on the side. Like, I never opened this bag, and I've owned it for over 10 years. It's like it's just sitting there in the shrink.
Oh, the messenger bag? That was from Infamous 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, I still own it, and I have the Cole statue and all that stuff still up there. And it's like, why did I buy this stuff? Like, it looked cool, but then I don't even have the desire to open any of it. So I decided right then and there. It was a nice
messenger bag. It was.
Oh, for sure. It's just, it was nice, but it was so nice that I could never use it. like it's so nice I can't even use it. That's the weird, paradox that comes in there. So
it could be worse. It could be like a Fallout helmet that's complete crap in a trash bag.
Oh my
God!
God!
Halo helmet you can't even put on your cat.
Yeah, for real.
I remember that. I worked at Best Buy when that came out. Everybody was so sad that you couldn't put it on a cat.
Like, that was the specific concern?
Yes, because it was a small helmet, and people were like, I'm going to put it on my cat. But then it wasn't hollow, it was filled in.
Oh.
Yeah, there was only a slot for it to sit on top of the pedestal that held the game in the bonus disc. It wasn't a fully hollowed out helmet. Like, I know people wanted to wear the helmet themselves because it is just about big enough to wear if you hollowed it out.
Oh, not for me. I have a gigantic
You have a monster
head.
melon? Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been cool as a cat helmet.
Huh?
What, David?
I heard two things at once.
I just said he had a black mage cranium.
Yes. I need the black mage size hat.
But
I have light sensitivity too, so I need to pull that brim really low and apply football.
Let me wrap this thought real quick, so I don't want to forget. Like, it's just you have stuff that comes in large boxes that come at a price that you don't want to use because it's too pristine and collectible. So eventually you got to a point where I was like, okay, I am now going to fight the desire to buy CEs. I'm done with them. I don't need them. Don't buy them. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's fucking hard because I realized it was a genuine compulsion. I really wanted these things despite realizing that I didn't need them. And I realize now that I think that may well be why they're even making these super duper editions. It's almost like that element that we talked about before with the with online gambling here and there, or video game gambling, where they know they have a subset of people that are going to break the bank to get these things just because they exist. It's not even that they want them; it just exists, so they're going to go for it.
I think that part of that is perhaps driven by a kind of aftermarket speculation, like going to, like when you go to cons and stuff and you see all these old collector's editions that people are selling for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so people like to buy up those CEs because they're like, oh, I'm going to sell this one day for thousands of dollars. And then they just don't. And then the things just collect.
And most of them depreciate in value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that might be partly due to the glut that it was. Like, a lot of the CEs we see at conventions that sell for a ton have two values associated with them. One, it could either be that it was at a time where they were low produced, so it was genuinely special when it was released, like a period when statues weren't common. Hence, a statue being on a CE was really cool. And then two, the game itself actually being worth a damn. If the game sucks, I don't want your stank ass statue. Keep it. I don't care about anything.
Duke Nukem Forever Collector's Edition.
Yeah, so
which is on my shelf.
Have you ever looked into the resale value of that?
No, I haven't.
So you have to do that after a show just to be like, hey guys, I did some research. It somehow still sells. But then again, now I think about that one might still carry only because despite Duke Nukem Forever being bad, Duke Nukem the character is still good. So people might want the statue just because it's Duke Nukem, not because of the game it was featured from.
Could end up selling it to John St. John himself.
Yeah.
He's like my legacy.
You can get it sealed for $60.
Yeah. So the character didn't carry it. That sucks. But at the same time, it makes sense. So it's like, even the aftermarket speculation is a dangerous game because a lot of the people doing the speculating are only saying it'll be rare. Yeah, but does anyone care? I mean, if it's rare and lame, let it stay rare. No one wants it. So it's like, I do wonder, I genuinely am curious about, because do they ever release the figures of how many of these super duper editions actually sell?
I don't know. I know some people will put a number on like, oh, there's only 1,500 of these that we're making. And I know like Limited Run does stuff like that. Yeah. I know years ago, the first Dead Space game had an Ultra Edition for like $100. This was before collector's editions were getting really popular. Mm-hmm. And they only made 1,000 of them. And this has been like one of my white whales. I would have loved to get this thing. I just didn't have the money for it back then. This thing goes for hundreds now.
Man, I love Dead Space too. Was that the one? I'm trying to remember. Was that the statue where it was like a guy's face kind of in the middle of like getting like morphed or something? It's been a long time, but like Dead Space.
That was me this morning.
Whoops! But you're fine now, hopefully. Yes.
I've had some coffee. Yeah, I'll be fine.
I am curious, like David, like were you ever one for like amassing collector's editions in your home over the years?
No, I think I've only ever bought one in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what that one is.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Japan for a long time, and the apartments are really small. And my apartment now in Sweden is also really small, so I don't really have a lot of room for stuff. And we move around. So I guess just like that collecting physical things has never really been high up on my list. But when I just moved to Japan for the first time, the first couple of years, I was very in love with like the concept of Japan. Before I really got into the country itself. And so I would buy like, some really nice characters and like some have the fancy drinks. And then I think I went to a used software store and I bought a Love Hina collector's set, actually. I'm embarrassed to say that. So it was like a nice big box and it had a wall clock and a book and some stickers and characters. Along with like a Sega, I can't remember if it was like a Dreamcast version of the game or something like that, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I took it all out. Like, so I hung the clock up on my wall, much to my girlfriend's chagrin, and things like that. So, but I enjoyed it. But I think like you said, like I found it in a used game store, and I don't think I paid like $20 for it. So obviously that was one that did not take off at all in terms of growing in value.
And that actually goes a long way to state the value of these things too, because Love Hina was extremely popular when it was big.
Yeah, I think maybe in Japan it was bigger in America from a crazy standpoint than Japan itself, or maybe just because the saturation, like there was a lot more content in Japan, so it was diluted. I don't know.
And
so
of course,
back on this Dead Space edition, I'm looking. There's 2 of them on eBay. 2 of the Ultra editions for Dead Space on eBay. One is used, opened, handled. That's sitting at $900. And then there's one that is rare, high grade, rated by VGA at 95, priced at $6,000.
That's not bad. I wish I could get $900 for being used and handled.
So,
see what I tell you?
You got the zingers.
I'm in the moment. I got to be in the moment.
I think that those like grade things is like kind of a scam. Like they have to be.
I don't think they matter anyway, but apparently the Dead Space 3 Dev Team Edition, only 5,000 of those were made. That gets a couple $100 too. That's sitting on my shelf. I might want to look into selling that.
Nice.
I think that's the crux of it actually though too. It's not so much that it's a scam so much as that it's unimportant, but due to it existing, people made it important. Like it's like, do you really need to pay money to mail a box to some other guy just to look at it and go, yeah, he hasn't opened it? 97. Like, really? It's a freaking box. Do you want it or not? Here's a photo. I don't need some grade for it. And yet that's where we're at now.
It's because... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
All right. What about you, Cole? Do you have any collector's edition stuff at your house?
I don't. I have never bought a collector's edition. I do have... Not even Ori. I wish I could have got Ori.
Too bad.
You still can.
I do have. Yeah, I guess I could. I've had other pressing issues, but I guess I could. I do have my Rocket League ball that Joe sent me. That was from a collector's edition.
Oh.
Because I do love my Rocket League, and I do have my Bronto gas sign. That's the extent of like my cool gaming collectibles. But those are neither of them were for collector's editions that I bought. And my Bronto gas sign I actually won from a giveaway. It was a prototype, and you can't even. I was actually just Googling to see like if anybody had even just any of the ones from the actual store. And I can't, like, if I type in State of Decay Bronto gas metal sign, I can find nothing. It's like it didn't exist.
Well, I think the real collector's editions are the experiences we had along the way.
Okay.
Shut up, Pernell.
Friendships edition.
collecting memories along the path of life.
Right? It's like, that's what I want to collect. How much for that? It's graded 100.
Sounds like a Kingdom Hearts plot. I think you got something there.
Oh, God.
My
Melody of memories.
I wasn't so much into like collector's editions so much until I started buying stuff directly from NIS, because it was always like, you can buy the regular game or get the special edition for $10 more. I was like, I better get the special edition.
I think NIS is where I'm still weakest at with that, honestly, because NIS, even doing reviews for the show, it's like, I know a lot of times the game will come through and I'll get to review the game, and I'm still like, but it's Ease, and I love Ease, and it comes in a box. I want the box. It's like,
I have failed at getting. I didn't get the Ease 8 special edition, and I still haven't pre-ordered 9, so I'm going to probably end up missing that one too.
That's funny about. I think the Ease 9 one is still out there. Like it's still available.
It is. I just can't get it.
Oh, I got you on that one. Then. Yeah. It's like, meanwhile, but the trade-off is what happened to me, whereas like I reviewed Ease 8 for the show, and I pre-ordered Ease 8 for the other console that I didn't review it for, and I still decided to keep the console release when it came out. But I literally never opened it. Like, it's just like this box was like, it's cool that it's there, and I think I could even sell it for a fair chunk of change if I wanted to. It's just like, could. But it's Ease, and Ease is like one of my favorite 3-com like game series. So it's like, do I still do it? And that's where I'm still weakest at. Yet meanwhile, they're like poison control, and I'm like, the hell's a poison control? No, keep your CE. Like. So I've definitely gotten better in that regard, at least. But when it comes to like Ease and Trails of Cold Steel, or pretty much any of their mainline RPGs, I'm a sucker, and they still got me by the balls.
Hey, Pernell, what platform is your Ease 8 sealed one? Is that PS4?
Yeah, I got the PS4 one, and I reviewed it for the show on Switch.
Because one just sold on eBay, a sealed PS4 edition for $400.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
You
might want to consider just flipping that one while you can.
That Magic Knight Rare, boy, that could pay off my car.
Wow.
Oh my God. See, I need to look into these things. I really should just do it. Just do it. Because I mean, I play it on Switch. I don't even play that game on PS4. So, like, what am I doing with it? It's just Ease. It's easy to keep them. So,
It's funny because, like, one of my favorite special editions, and I actually had to buy it after in the aftermarket, but thankfully I didn't have to spend too much. But The Longest 5 Minutes had a collector's edition, and I wanted that because it was the only way at the time to get, like, the art booklet and the soundtrack, and the soundtrack is my favorite part of that game. And I was like, I really want to play this on my, like, I want to play it on my music device.
I'll play it on my Zune.
Yeah, on my Zune. My Zune, man. And, so I bought it for that. Totally worth it, too. But, that's, I kind of, like, wish that they had made those available separately so I could just purchase them.
No.
But oh well.
So when are we getting a Hexagroove Collector's Edition?
That's a good question. But these days, I thought, traditionally, I think of collector's editions as being like art books and like the making of and things like that. But nowadays it's a lot of swag, right? Like you got to have some physical like characters in it or something like that.
I actually prefer not to have that stuff.
Honestly, an OST would be fun. Like, for me, the perfect collector's edition that would actually can make me genuinely want it more would be the game, art book, and full soundtrack, not some sound selections garbage. Like, I want the full OST. Like, I'll pay for that gladly.
I don't mind if we get a sound selection, just because so many soundtracks these days could be like 4-disc soundtracks. And those are hard to package.
I'm fine with that.
You could do like Final Fantasy did and just put it on a Blu-ray for the full soundtrack.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that because the problem is usually you'll get this sound selection disc. It'll come in the mail, and it'll be like, here's the opening and the closing. Here's the battle victory theme. You get 2 of the 4 battle themes, and some guy saying "Yatta" 5 times in a row. Like, I don't really want that. I wanted battle theme 3. You gave me 1 and 2. It's like it screws me. It's like I'd rather just get the full chilada. If you want to charge me $20 more instead of 10 because it's 4 discs, I'm fine with that. You know, though it shouldn't even come to that because it's freaking CD. It's not hard to press a disc, but yeah, it's like that's where I'm at with these things. It's like those are the simple elements that I think should truly go into a CE, but instead what we get is here's a bunch of stickers, and here is a standee of Scott Pilgrim that you'll never stand up because you've got no fucking space for it. And just a bunch of like random knickknacks that genuinely add nothing to the genuine product. It's just like, it's more, and I like more, so give me. Like, no. Give me the bare essentials that define the product I'm buying. The art and the music. Gimme.
So Pernell wants an art book and a soundtrack. Chris, what do you want in a collector's edition?
A giant cardboard diorama. And a coloring book.
It comes with 2 crayons. Color selections.
Learn to blend, bitches.
It's the 3 primary colors. It just includes those.
Oh my god. Cole, do you have a dream collector's edition? What would you want?
I just really enjoy when they include art books, but that's the art nerd in me, right? So as long as there's an art book, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy. I need absolutely nothing other than that. I do like the Division statues. Those are badass.
Am I the only one who cares about steelbooks, I guess?
I don't give a fuck about a steelbook if my life depended on it.
Steelbooks are nice. Do you agree, Cole, in regards to like steelbooks also that it's not that they're bad, though you don't like them, but not that they're bad so much as that they kind of hit a point where they're just like, they're not even collector's edition material anymore. They're just like first print run items now. Like,
well, then bring them on. I don't care.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but like, they're great, but it's the matter of it being like, this is the CE version, whereas like, when I bought Yakuza Like a Dragon, the website said, comes with free steelbook. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll get a steelbook with it. So I went and bought the game. They gave me the steelbook. I got home, opened it up. The game came in a steelbook, and they gave me a second steelbook.
Yeah, like, Best Buy.
It doesn't even make sense. Like, so I'm going to use one and then throw away the other? Am I going to just occasionally switch them because I want my shelf to look a little nicer and different? Like, it makes no sense. But it also just goes to show you, steelbooks are just a part of, like, first print runs now. Like, that isn't the incentive of a CE anymore. It's just a thing that comes with your game.
See, but then you have THQ Nordic, who does these stupid collector's editions for $400 for Destroy All Humans, and it doesn't have a steelbook.
They're like, if you want the steelbook, you got to buy the cheaper special edition, and then the completers will buy 2 special editions so you can have everything.
Like, it makes me sad when a collector's edition doesn't include a steelbook, and it usually makes me reconsider if I want it.
Like, I can definitely get behind that. Like, if
you don't want the steelbook until it's not there.
So clearly the Hexagroove,
more than its presence.
The Hexagroove Collector's Edition needs a steelbook, an art book, a soundtrack disc. Actually, if we need to do something gimmicky, put the soundtrack on vinyl.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I mean,
and then
for a DJ,
full-sized record player with the Hexagroove logo on it. That'll be the collector's piece.
Nobody mentioned the Hexaperson. You guys don't want like a Hexaperson figure or anything like that?
I was asking Gary to make a joke about the diorama being just the audience and a ball that just kind of gets passed around.
I mean, I can take a fun noodle and chop it up and send it to you, and then you can have that.
Done. Sold. But you got to put the logo on like 2 of the pieces. That makes it official merchandise.
Yep.
Collector's edition, it's limited to 1.
Right? It's the one fun noodle I purchased from Walmart. There you go.
$400.
The special edition should just come with like a full DJ rig, including like a giant PA system and everything.
I would honestly
got the metal rigging and everything.
Costs like $12,000.
Comes with his own nightclub.
There you go.
They mail the deed. We don't promise where it's actually located, but we'll mail you the deed to a nightclub.
In the coronavirus times, I was gonna say in the coronavirus times, that venue is gonna be just sitting in the plastic.
Big submission, 98 grade, because someone peed in the corner, so we couldn't give it 100.
Somebody somehow wrecked the restroom wall. Again.
They put their fist through the urinal again.
Yeah.
Oh
my god.
The stall door doesn't work anymore.
We have problems.
Glorious problems. Sweet problems.
Well, I know we've been chatting for a while. Is there anything else anyone wanted to bring up and talk about?
Nothing's coming to mind, but you know me, I just roll with the punches.
David, anything else you want to talk about? You mentioned Hexagroove, the update hit PC and Switch. Any word on Xbox?
Oh, that stuff was already on Xbox. It was the Xbox exclusive content.
Gotcha.
Then we took it over to Switch and PC.
Gotcha. I thought it was new content.
We're
half
so
asleep.
used to Xbox not getting shit until 6 years later.
Xbox always gets fucked over.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're looking out for you. Buy the CE.
So that's why I will buy your $12,000 Swedish nightclub collector's edition. That would be a hell of a PR stunt if you guys just gave away a nightclub as a collector's edition.
Well, the price of a nightclub is probably depreciating rather quickly right now, so we might be able to pull that off.
Now's the time. Now is the time.
And the thing about it is, like, you can even sell it as like an investment venture. Like, you'll get this nightclub, and when Corona's over, you'll be owning it. You'll have rock bottom starting price, and you can just rise from the top from there. Just take it, run with it.
Yeah. We actually run a monthly gig, a club here in Stockholm for game, music, chiptunes, and techno and things like that. But that's been on hiatus now, of course. So I have not been in a club DJing in 12 months. So that's fairly accurate.
None of us have.
Have you taken a crack at what I've seen a couple people do, where they try to do like a live stream DJ streams? Like I remember I saw Chipsel doing it once, and there was like a couple, like a whole like boutique of artists who got together collectively to do one recently. Have you taken a crack at any of that stuff?
I think that the group that I'm in, they did that a couple times. That's not, I don't know. It's not really super my thing. So for me, if I'm going to stream, I stream Hexagroove, and I guess it's not really exactly the same thing because I'm talking while I'm playing the game. But if we're doing like a real party type thing, I want to have people in the room listening to the music, dancing, and having a good time. So that's why I guess Hexagroove doesn't have any online stuff yet. It's because for me, it's a couch co-op party and rave in the house kind of thing.
That makes sense. That's like that was like what I liked about that Harmonix card game. Where it wasn't even about the game. It was about just mixing card sounds together. Like, hey, everybody, listen to this cool thing I did.
Oh, drop mix.
Yeah, drop mix. Yeah.
That was the appeal to that for me. It wasn't even the game. It was just the music medleys that you could throw together and have people hear them. So it's like, I get the desire to have the actual physical present energy in the room.
Speaking of Harmonix, David, have you checked out Fuser at all?
I haven't actually got it yet. I'd like to play it, but it looks like they're using the same audio and like not knowing anything internally. But it looks like they're using the exact same tech in Drop Mix in Fuser. So it's like if you took the Drop Mix sound engine and kind of glued it with Rock Band, that's probably what you ended up with. So if you enjoyed that part of putting together songs, I think you'd probably enjoy Fuser as well too. But no, I really respect those guys. It's really tough to make licensed music games because the labels want so much money for the content and things like that. The margins have to be razor thin.
Yeah, I think that's where ultimately kind of ends up killing the market or making it brutal, because like Konami's been doing it for years, but I think a large part of why they were able to is because most of the stuff that they put on their games is in-house music creation. Like they actually brought the musicians in and was like, you compose for our games, and that's it.
Exactly.
But because like, it does irk me, like, because I think Joe is probably, of all the people I know, Joe is probably the best person to comment on this. Like, can you think of many songs that were originally on Rock Band that then were just like yanked because of like licensing issues. Like, we lost the rights to use this song. So I think there was a fair number of them though, but
there's
small
probably,
total catalog.
I'd say like 200 maybe songs have been pulled from sale because of licensing issues, just like the license expires, stuff like Red Hot Chili Peppers is gone, Metallica is gone, Fleetwood Mac is gone. It hurts me because I'm missing one Fleetwood Mac song and I'm missing 2 songs from the Naked Brothers band, and that's literally all I'm missing in Rock Band.
And it throws me for such a loop because the way my mind processes the way that should work, it should be, hey, we want to use your song in our games. Not game, like, say, for example, like it's a franchise, like Rock Band is a franchise. We should be able to say, we want to use your songs in Rock Band. And they go, okay, you pay us this much money and you can use it in Rock Band. They pay the flat cut. This is a song that can be used in Rock Band. Like if they make Rock Band 55, if that same song is in the game, it's okay because you paid for it way back in Rock Band 2. Like I can see if it was like, we made Rock Band, now here's like Rock Band, but now it's in space. Rock Band in space. It's like, okay, are you trying to make a new franchise here? Are you trying to like change it up? Because now you should probably pay a game, which I still think is dumb, but at least makes more sense than what they do of, now that we're at the Rock Band 4, we're not allowed to use the song anymore. So why? It's still Rock Band. They've changed nothing. It's just older.
Well, the songs, if you own the songs, you keep the songs. There's no songs at all that if you bought them are gone.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's still the same logic of like, it just should just be allowed to exist. Like, that's how a lot of the Konami stuff works. Like, they'll be popping 1 up to like popping 57. Like, if the song existed in 2 and that artist didn't like leave Konami to do something different, the song will still be there and you can always come in and play it. It's not a matter of like you personally owning it. It's the fact that if you come into that franchise late, you still have access to the song because it was there. And this is the most new current version of it. So it may as well still exist as a product of the franchise. Like, they should never take it out. They should stay there for good.
Licensing is hard.
Yeah, but when we worked on Lips for Xbox 360, there was so much potential in that title and that series, and there were a lot of features we had to cut because of licensing things that hamstringed the development. I mean, like with the original Lips, we had an idea that you could sing any song that you had with you, so you could plug in a USB stick or a Zune or an iPod, and we implemented all that so you can actually sing along. We made it that far where you could play any song you have and sing it inside of Lips. But what we didn't get to ship was that we had a lyrics cloud too that was going to go to Grace Note or something like that and say, oh, you're playing Losing My Religion, which you have. And we know the name of that song, so here's the lyrics for it. And we wrote all the software that would download the lyrics for Losing My Religion and put them on the screen. So it'd be just like, you were doing karaoke in a regular karaoke bar with the lyrics and you could sing along and things like that. And we built that feature and had it running, but then it got cut at the 11th hour because the lawyers of the labels couldn't sort out like, no, it's IP infringement to have lyrics downloading going through here and the artists aren't being compensated that way. So that was kind of a drag.
Yeah, same reason why we don't see like custom songs in Rock Band. It's just licensing sucks. Music licensing in particular is not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for artists. I mean, being a content creator, I'm all for artists getting their due money, and I wish that we could support them in a more honest way. But unfortunately, the labels standing between makes it really, really difficult to get signed music into games.
Which is funny because then places like Spotify turn around and pay artists like nothing because they get all the money that all that licensing provides. So really, the artists.
And it's sad too because like if you think about like with that custom song angle, right? If it weren't for the licensing issue, what could be done is it could be just simply a matter of like, hey, I want to make a custom song for this game. The song could get sent to like, I don't know, like it could be a matter of like either A, you make the custom song and you can only play it in your house if you have the song, if you bought the song. Mm-hmm. But if you want to go to the world at large, then it's just like a matter of like you submitting it to the company. The company can decide if it's a song they want to put out there. And then they just pay the artists themselves. Like, what do you want for your song? And the artist says, you want this in your game? Pay this much. And at that point, it's officially a product of the game. People can make charts based on it if it's already been covered, and you just go nuts. But I mean, I guess I admit that in itself there's levels of complexity that would even exist for that logic too. But I still think it's like closer way to, one, get the songs in the games, and two, get artists compensated for the fact that people want to use their stuff in games.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that could happen. Like, I would love to see more Chevelle songs in Rock Band, but just gotta cross your fingers and hope that Harmonix works out a deal with the record label and they get the people on the job to chart everything and do all the background work and lip sync work and animation work and everything else and makes it to the game, and I could give them $2 for it.
I think it's amazing how I haven't played Rock Band in ages, but when you said the Chevelles, I immediately knew the song that they did was like, come on, come on, come on.
No, I said Chevelle, not the Chevelles. Big difference.
Well,
massive difference. Significantly different genres.
It's amazing.
He's talking about his car.
Yes, I'm talking about my vroom vroom. Oh my lord. Speaking of like music and covering and stuff like that, what are your thoughts on people who have covered Gitaroo Man tracks? Like we have some friends of the show, Ailshan, the Altered Beasts, the One Ups, Lonely Rolling Stars. They've all done covers of Gitaroo Man songs. What do you think of stuff like that?
Well, that's great. I'm glad to see people keeping that franchise and that game and the spirit and the history alive. I think it's kind of unlikely that you will see any kind of Gitaroo Man related games again. So,
which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame. But to keep that spirit alive, remember what music games were like in 2001 and the stories and bringing that together. That's fantastic.
Well, we are going to take a quick break with the show, and we'll play one of those songs. Is there anything in particular you would like to hear?
No, I think, yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Gitaroo Man, then I mean, last time we played a Gitaroo Man song, last time I was on, right? I think you played one then too?
Probably.
Yeah, so play another one, play a different one.
Okay, we'll play something. But David, it's a blast having you on the show. You're going to have to come back again. We're going to have to do this again. I don't want to take up all of your day. We're going to take a quick break with the show. We will be back with more. Chris, Pernell, Cole, stick around. We will be doing more on another day, but we record out of sequence, so what the hell matters? David, do you have any final words to end this?
No, other than everyone, please stay safe and social distance, stay healthy. We'll all get through this together. So let's do it together online.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. And another thanks to David Ventura of Ichigoichie for hanging out with us. Pernell, Chris, Cole, you're all still here. How's everyone doing?
I don't know. It's only been a few minutes. I mean,
it's like we never left.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's just still here. And we picked up an Aki along the way.
Oof.
We did? I don't know about that, but okay.
I think the one dumb conundrum I'm faced with right now is like I'm browsing the eShop stuff, and there's a game on there that I like called Octahedron, which I have on the PlayStation, and it's on sale on the Switch for like $2. And on one hand, I'm like, I'd probably play it more on the Switch, but on the other hand, it's still double dipping. But then on the other hand, it's $2. So it's a real.
It sounds like you got two hands on one side and one on the other. So
clearly, I lost my other hand in the war. But
Goro over here fucking buying eShop games.
It's the life of me, I tell you. Just
Mortal Kombat
shopping. I live to purchase discount eShop titles. That's pretty much the gist of it, which is a scary thing.
That's what you do too, right? You just purchase discount eShop games.
So, yes.
Actually, not recently. I haven't really bought that much lately.
No?
No, not really. I think that I'm not gonna say like I hit a saturation point or anything, but the stuff that I still have to buy has not been cheap enough yet. So I'm holding out.
You could always buy Octahedron. It gets the Pernell seal of approval.
Ooh. It's only $2.
Look it up. Trust me. It's stylish, it's fun, it's challenging, and it's got a unique premise.
That's like the rhythm platformer, right?
Not really rhythm. It just has really good music. But the idea is that it's a platformer where you have to make the platforms most of the time. But as easy as that sounds, it's actually really tough. They make you work that system. It's very flashy, very colorful. It's a beautiful game. Like I adore it. I bought it on a whim on the PlayStation when it came out, and it was played like a good chunk of it in one sitting. It was a good time.
You know what else is a good time? Hexagroove from Ichigoichie. Should check that out on the store. Gotta plug our guest, right?
He was just on.
Yeah, we gotta give the plugs.
Like if you were listening 5 minutes ago, you should buy that game.
If you skip just to the reviews, you didn't get to the reviews yet, so you're not listening to this. So
Sucker.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Will you ever get to the reviews?
You have to fit it in like, today we review such and such a game also by Hexagroove. It'll be, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. I didn't expect it. Then bam, they gorilla me.
Yeah, we'll just do it in between every review. Be sure to pick up Hexagroove. Available now.
Getting to the Hexagroove.
Speaking of reviews, should we get to these?
Yes, especially because I just bought Octahedron. Damn it. $2.
Oh, wow. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, because you're kicking things off.
Ah, fuck.
I love your enthusiasm.
It's palpable.
Yes, it is. First game to talk about tonight is called Hitman 3, developed and published by IO Interactive, released January 20th on Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, Stadia, and Epic Game Store for $59.99. A cloud version is also available on the Nintendo Switch. Death awaits. Agent 47 returns in Hitman 3, the dramatic conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy. Cole, tell us about Hitman 3.
I feel bad that this is a dramatic conclusion and it's my first foray into Hitman. Not because we don't own them, because we own every fucking one of them.
Why did you let her have this?
Because my husband wanted it and because I'm the co-host. So I haven't played any of them. I'm familiar with them. I've seen David play them. I know who Agent 47 is. I know at least some bits of the story. I don't want to dive too much or at all into the story because basically like the moment I open my mouth about the story, it's going to spoil it all. And I don't want to do that. I've learned, I've gotten better about not spoiling shit over the years. So just shut up now. So I don't want to spoil anything, but I also don't want to dive a shit ton into the story because I didn't play this game for the story. I spent my entire time with Hitman 3 just full on being an agent of chaos. And I have prefaced this already by saying my husband is into these games. He's played the other ones. He's very in tune with Hitman. And so like he was full on like, oh yeah, Hitman 3. And like he dove into it and he was just going through there's 6 different levels and maps or whatever you want to call them. And he was like going through them and exploring them. He was talking about all the lore and I'm like, that's great, dear. And I'm just kind of watching, right? And so then when I started playing it, he was watching me. And we had very different approaches because Hitman at its core is supposed to be a stealth game and you plan out your moves around, how you're going to move around the map.
It's about silent assassinations and tactical.
Yeah. And
you didn't do any of that, did you?
Not at all.
Tell us about your husband's playthrough.
I want to break out here for a second and say I actually saw an article earlier that said people were beating the first level or map or whatever you call it in 10 seconds. What the fuck?
How?
It's almost like they just boot the game up in like a bolt. Just bam, done.
I don't even know how because I don't know how you walk that fast. I couldn't even walk that fast. And that was a little bit of my problem with the game. It was just like, it is slow and methodical and stealthy. And I know that. And I know that's what it's supposed to be. And I'm okay with that. But I tend to be more of like a gung-ho player and I just zoom through shit. And so when I was forced to slow down, that let my shiny object syndrome kick in.
Oh, right? Boy.
And so then I'm like, I can interact with that. I can interact with this. What happens? Oh, this says it's a winch. Push the button. A whole ass chandelier just falls out of the middle of the floor. I'm just like casually pushing buttons and watching the chaos that ensues after with glee. And my husband is staring at me like, what is wrong with you? That's not how you do this. I'm like, oh, it is today.
Wow.
I killed somebody.
Successful Hitman. Just a fun Hitman.
I had so much fun. I killed somebody and then purposely left the body out and hid in a cabinet so I could see it and watch just to see what would happen.
Oh my god, this guy's dead. And they get like, okay, back to work.
They just casually put him in a body bag and haul him away. And I was like, props to just not leaving it there to disintegrate. They'd at least put it in a body bag. But he's just like, he's so frustrated with me. He's like, you're supposed to be stealthy. You're only supposed to kill the targets. You're supposed to eavesdrop. You're supposed to do all these other wonderful things. And I'm like, yeah, but do you know what happens if you push the winch button? Let me do that again.
Oh my god.
I just was going around casually putting rat poison in people's drinks because it lets you do that.
You have to ration the rat poison. You only get so many people.
I got enough.
Oh my god. Aki, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts is there's something very, very wrong with her and how she plays the game. And I am insulted to my very fucking core with everything I've heard so far.
He's like, Hitman, no, it's a smash man.
I put some time into the game as well. I did not go Agent of Chaos style. And we have to address a quick question in the audience. Angerth asking, did they upgrade his head to a QR code yet? No, it is still a barcode, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that would be pretty great.
We still led me to some questions. Like, I was so getting on David's nerves. So I was having a blast doing it, but I was so getting on David's nerves when I was playing it because I'm like strolling around and I'm like, nobody notices that this bald motherfucker with a tattoo of a barcode on the back of his head is a janitor 1 minute and a high-level security guard the next. And they're just like letting him stroll over. Like, I don't get it. This is like the pinnacle of white male privilege. I don't understand this.
He blends right in. Like, I'm too busy to be concerned about the bald guy. Let's get to work.
Yeah, how do you not feel a little disheartened or disoriented by a a bald white dude who's got a barcode on the back of his head, just strolling around in different outfits. Like, that barcode would be an identifiable tattoo.
Wow, they commercialized employment so fast, I hardly even noticed it. They just bought this guy.
He's multi-talented. I should employ him myself if he's the
barcode.
He's this adept at everything. Just like Cole is adept at stealth games.
I am one of those horrible people who like plays Assassin's Creed and shit and just goes in guns blazing just to see how many I can fuck up on my way to the goal. So I was not surprised that I went full Agent of Chaos here and was just like, everybody's gonna die.
So you racked up the body counts.
I did. You get docked for that. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, no shit.
I didn't care, and I kept on doing it anyway.
It's not just that, but I also even wonder, because I only played a little bit of the second game, but is it even possible to like successfully play the game and be full on like antagonistic for everybody? Because between like crowded spaces and limited ammo or equipment.
Are you asking if you can just go around and just shoot the shit out of everything?
You can't like go full gun.
Technically.
I kind of can, I guess, but like some of these, this is one of the most impressive things about Hitman 3 to me is the just amount of population in the levels and the number of people that you can interact with. Like, I brushed up against one chick and she was like, "Hey there, Mr. Hansy, you're getting too close." And I'm like, wait a second, but I don't even have balls. And so I was very confused for a second. I was like, oh yeah, Agent 47, the bald dude, I need to not bump into people. So in some ways you can kind of, I mean, I definitely went around like the outskirts where there were not as many people, just blasting through them because I had a gun and I could. I was throwing bananas at people. I used a coin. I bought a pop and then I threw that at people, like just to see what would happen. I was trying to break shit. And it let me get away with quite a bit. Although I don't think like in some of the levels that are super crowded, or some of the areas rather that are just incredibly crowded, like you get fucked up real quick if you went in guns blazing on those.
Yeah, I did the one mission and the guy was in the middle of a bar on a ship, and I went up and I accidentally hit the wrong button and I swung at him and I was dead in seconds. And everyone started shooting me.
Yeah, that accidentally hitting the wrong button thing kind of happens a lot, especially if you're new to the franchise like I was. Because I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just was kind of randomly pushing things to see what would happen. You can't poison somebody's drink if people can see you, for example. And then you'll end up getting chased down. And there's only so many places you can hide. And then they're going to be on the lookout for you. And you got to change your costume. So, I mean, there are definitely consequences for being an agent of chaos.
Yes, but bad scores.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it any less fun. And hey, if you still want to kill somebody in a room full of people, just drop a chandelier on them.
Wow.
In the game, not in real life, people. Worry about you guys. But
not in real life.
I will say there were not as many options for accessibility as I would have liked. There were some. They do give you the option to choose the button prompts, the size of them. The small is really fucking small. The medium is what I would like to see for a small, and the large is okay. I do wish that there was an option to get rid of the repeated button presses for some of the attacks. Like you just have to like sit and press X over and over and over when you're subduing somebody.
No.
I would far rather just be able to prefer just to be able to hold it. Because having to constantly press, that's an accessibility thing. And that's a me thing, and I'm aware of it, but if we're going to talk about it, here we are. I'd like to see something like that. But that's kind of just small potato stuff. Like as far as the game itself, it looks really good. It plays.
Oh my god, it looks beautiful on the Series X. I runs
can
really well. 60 frames. I enjoyed. I don't have a 120 TV, so I don't know if it supports that or not. But looked and played great on my rig, and I was very happy with how visually stunning it was.
Yeah, I didn't have. I mean, I don't have a Series X yet. I have a 1S, and I didn't have a single complaint. It looked incredible. I imagine if I had a Series X and then tried to play it on a 1S, I'd probably have a complaint. But that would be every game.
Yeah. Well, so, overall, $60 on this thing. What do you think?
I think it's well worth it. Initially, I was like, wow, only 6 map areas, 6 maps or areas or whatever. And then I was like, okay, but if you're doing it properly, you can spend quite a bit of time in each area going through and getting the intel and actually collecting all the information and carrying out a proper attack and not just being chaotic.
And if you own the previous games, you could carry the maps over.
That was also impressive. I have them, but I haven't played them. But I did see them in the menu. So yeah, I think for the price, I think there's plenty enough there to keep it afloat and justify the price tag.
Cool beans.
I give it a buy it.
Cool beans. I can agree with that. I'm still early in the game, but I'm enjoying my time with it. I thought it was worth picking up. I enjoy the Hitman games, so it's hard. Are
you gonna drop a chandelier on somebody now?
Probably, yes. Just I'll save my game, do it, and then load my game.
Good idea.
I mean, dropping a chandelier is a good idea because it counts as an accident kill.
Yeah.
So as long as no one sees you do it, it's fine.
Oops.
All right.
Unless you're cool and she wants to bask in it, like, witness me.
You can also clear every level guns blazing if you really want to. It's a pain in the ass, but you can do it.
Oh.
Guards continually spawn, though, so you have trouble. You can pick up their weapons and use them if you run out of ammo, because you only come in with however much ammo you have. But you can do it guns blazing. Every level. You
can pick up bananas.
Do that.
That's exciting.
You can't. Okay, that's new.
There were bananas, yeah. And sometimes you can pretend like you're doing work to blend in. That's handy.
But then you get caught up in it. You're just like, I can't stop doing work.
Yeah, you just kind of stand there and don't have any control. But there's bananas and there's Dr. Pop and crashing chandeliers, and I have no complaints about any of those.
You are focusing way too much on these bananas. Next game to talk about is called Cyber Shadow, developed by Mechanical Head Studios, published by Yacht Club Games, released January 16th on Xbox One, Switch, PS4, and PC for $19.99. The world has been taken over by synthetic life forms. A desperate plea for help sets Shadow on a journey to uncover what started the path to perpetual ruin, slash through the techno hordes, leap past traps, and nimbly navigate the ruins of Mecha City. Only you can unlock the secrets to your clan's ancient powers in Cyber Shadow, the quintessential ninja action game. Pernell, tell us about Cyber Shadow.
First, before I go into any of this, I'm going to point out 2 things. First thing, I learned in the process of getting into this game that it was developed by one person. I knew of the game's existence and it looked cool, but I didn't realize one person did the whole thing. So that's awesome. The second thing is that when I originally got into this game, my hope was that it was going to be some sort of hybrid of, say, Shadow of the Ninja and Ninja Gaiden. But knowing what I know now, it is definitely way more Shadow of the Ninja and a lot less Ninja Gaiden, to the point where it's almost not Ninja Gaiden at all. So I only wanted to point that out for anybody who's coming in with a similar mindset. Don't do that. It's more Natsume, less Tecmo. As for the game itself, Cyber Shadow consists of you playing through a series of stages, though you can technically go back to stages later on with upgraded abilities. And with each stage, the goal in typical platformer fashion is to get from the beginning to the end. Now, what takes place in these stages is a little bit different than the typical platformer game, because while you do have the ability to jump and slash enemies to kill them, as you progress through the stages, you will either at the end of the level and sometimes during the stage obtain new abilities to augment the ninja. It's always intended to be used to further progress you. So you're not going to get like a hidden double jump or something. If you get, Katana level 2, you were intended to have it. If you get, the dash attack, you were meant to have it, which isn't a bad thing. It's just saying the game pretty much changes in, play style and improves itself as every level goes and you get new gear. It's actually kind of cool in the sense, like, it's very fluid. It's not too fast-paced. In fact, it's not all that fast-paced at all until you get the dash, in which case certain areas will require you to do like a running, jump, air dash sort of bit. But for the most part, it's fairly methodical, but fun and precise. If you die, it's your fault. There are no moments in the game where it cheats, so or less. There's no glitches or no jumpy bits. It's just you died if you do.
Group Bear in chat is saying that game is hard, man. The save points are stupid.
But that's the thing about the game that I like, though, is like it's a hard game. It's funny how like Root Beer said they almost similar but different from what I was going to say, which is it's very challenging. Especially at first, I was kind of mocking like it's not too bad, and I got to stage 5, and that changed everything. I died a lot just there, but the checkpoints, you do get used to them, and the way they design the checkpoints is actually kind of interesting because as you play through stages, like in typical like Ninja Gaiden style games, if you would break a lantern or a floating object, you would get like, Ninja Scroll points or whatever. In this game, you can get a few things, hit points sometimes. Sometimes you can get points to use your special moves like shurikens and stuff, which run on an SP gauge. But you also get these little like yellow baubles that can be worth 1 to 2 points. Every time you get to a checkpoint, it can have 1 to 3 facilities affixed to it. Usually it revolves around, hit point regeneration, SP regeneration, which is your special moves, and sometimes generation of an actual item in the game. So, for example, the swag blade, which is a floating like disc that you can bat back and forth. Like you'll bat it, it'll go forward like a boomerang, come back to you, and if you let it go, it'll go past you and then swing back, or you can hit it and keep it volleying. And it's just good for like extending your reach. You can have blade extensions, cool like SP generators, all kinds of interesting stuff that can pop up on these stations. And they all cost the points you get from those jars. So early on in the game, it might be like, hey, for 25 points, you can get a health regen every time you respawn here. And you can get a special item pickup every time you respawn here. And it seems real cheap. And then later on in the game, you might be walking around with like 50 points, and it's like, hey, for 75 points, you can get this. You're like, uh-oh, get a little dicey here. I got to make some decisions. But regardless of how much you spend on these stations, there are no lives in the game. And that's where I was thinking about when I was looking about how the challenge works. Because with Ninja Gaiden, when you would play that game, you get lives, and if you don't find enough extra lives and you die like you do, you eventually have to respawn back at the beginning of the stage. And that's where the majority of that game's frustration even comes from. It's not the difficulty, it's how they punish you for the difficulty. In this game, it's challenging, but you respawn at checkpoints that kind of, if you spent the points on it, it gives you cool items to get you going again. You never really feel like you lost your momentum when you die, so long as you invested in the save point. And even times when I didn't, I wasn't necessarily feeling bad about it because your special moves are sticking with you regardless, so you'll always at least have shuriken to throw, or the rising fire attack, which is a good upwards attack for the most part. You always generally have something going for you, even if you don't have a special item. So, but as you progress the game, you'll fight bosses, you'll get new abilities, and you'll expand your repertoire of moves to do more and more. And eventually you'll be able to start going back to old stages with new abilities to find new stuff, such as SP and hit point boosters, which are, typical heart container concept. Get 3 of the heart boosters and you'll get 1 more health item. Or if you find 1 blue, you get 1 SP upgrade. But you'll want to go back for stuff like that and extra pickups. Secrets themselves aren't particularly well hidden or anything like that. So you're not going to be like, oh, wow, I was just kind of stumbling and I made this miraculous discovery. You're going to actually go, oh, look, that wall clearly can be broken. I'm just going to go smash that thing and move on. And even if in some chance I might be saying that, and you're like, but I'm not that good at finding secrets, Pernell. What am I supposed to do? Well, the game does tell you how much of the level you've completed when you've beaten it. So you always get a decent indication of whether or not you'll need to go back at some point or not. So you never feel too bad about the fact that stuff is available because you'll find it eventually. Just take your time.
Yeah.
The soundtrack also very good. I think it's a fantastic beat to it. I've already been trying to YouTube a couple of the tracks off the game, most particularly, Subject Alpha's battle theme, freaking hot. Both of them, actually. But all in all, I can't say I have any complaints about this title. I feel like it's genuinely long enough for what it is. I feel like the gameplay never feels wasted. I've enjoyed every section of the game I've played, even the slower bits. And as it ramps up in difficulty, that just makes it better for people like me. Like, I'm good. Like, let's get this in. Beat my head against the wall until I get it right. It does its job, and it does it well. I don't know if I want to really say it's going to be like the next Shovel Knight, but that's obviously an opinion in that sense of it. Depends on who gets to it and who it attracts. But even if it doesn't hit the heights of Shovel Knightdom, I think this game is a quality title that is going to fit into so many people's collections. It's ridiculous. I am glad Yacht Club has another good game under their belt.
Well, then for $20, your official verdict?
Purchase the hell out of this game. It's worth your cash.
Cool beans.
I love beans, especially the baked kind.
Baked beans are good.
Mm-hmm. People joke on hot dogs and baked beans. Bullshit, that's a meal.
Hexagroove. Next game to talk about is called TOHU, developed by Fireart Games, published by the Irregular Corporation, released January 28th on Xbox One, Switch, PS4, and PC for $14.99. Experience a brand new adventure game set amongst a world of weird and wonderful fish planets. Explore beautiful environments, solve intricate puzzles, and discover the truth about a mysterious little girl and her mechanical alter ego Cubus. Aki, tell us about TOHU.
It's a point-and-click game.
Tell us more about TOHU.
Okay. Something has appeared and is wrecking your little fish planet machine thing by destroying effectively what I assume is your house. They call it the engine, and you are just going around trying to fix it throughout the whole game. Seems like every area, every fish planet, which are just flying fish, by the way, they're just giant flying fish. All different types of fish. I have no idea what the fuck's going on, but it's interesting. It seems like there's only one person per planet for reasons I'm not sure. At least I consider each one of these fish their own little planet because they have completely different environments. So first off, you go and you talk to your older friend who you're hoping will help you fix it, and then he's like, oh no, here's one of the 2 tools you need, because apparently you only need 2 tools to fix everything on the planet: a screwdriver and a hammer. That's all
simplicity,
you need.
I'll take it.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, go get this hammer. And you're like, okay. And then you go off to get the hammer, and then you go to fix stuff, and then you learn of more secrets that just your fish planet has. And then you have to set off on another quest. And then eventually, the little asshole who destroys everything, and it's like, you dick, and then you have to stop them. The art is really pretty. This thing can be beaten in like 3-4 hours, so there's not a lot to it. It's a nice little simple palette cleanser. None of the little puzzles, I guess, for lack of a better word, that you have where you pick up stuff and you place it somewhere else, none of those are particularly confusing to figure out. So it's fairly simple. I think especially kids will really enjoy this. Because of how simple it is. They're not going to get stuck all that particularly much. There might be 1 or 2 places where they're like, I don't understand how this works. One of them, because I got stuck on one of them because I'm a derp.
Proud of you.
Yeah, you get 3 tickets to open this vault to get the hammer, ironically. And one of them isn't straight like the others are. It's been chewed up, basically. And I kept trying to put it in. I'm like, why isn't this going in? What do I do with it? And I tried interacting with it all over the place. And fucking, you have to put it in a heater that you fiddle with earlier that I forgot even existed because I didn't do anything with it. And that's all you have to do, and then you can put it in there. It's like, I spent like an hour trying to figure this out. I'm stupid.
Proud of you. So very proud of you.
Yeah.
Also very proud of one and only Steph, who just rated us with 9 people. Hello, everyone.
Oh, wow.
Pull up a
9
seat,
people.
stay a while, and listen to us talk about TOHU. Is there anything else you wanted to say about it?
It's really cute.
It is a cute game. It's really pretty. I love the art style to it.
Yes.
I want to get my hands on this one. The fact that you're saying it's really easy makes me want to get my hands on it even more.
Oh, yeah. You can... I'm missing like 2 achievements in it that I just haven't been able to figure out. All the achievement names are really weird. So they're like in some other language half the time. I'm like, I don't know. Like like one of them is you have to click on this thing twice, but I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that thing is even. Another one's for falling, and I'm like, I've fallen so many times in this, I don't know why I don't have those, but most of the achievements are super. Yeah, apparently. I just haven't fallen enough, I guess. And there's only one place I can think of where I can fall, so I'm like, I don't know. Most of its achievements are for doing miscellaneous things like click on this twice, click on this 3 times, make this person run around 3 times, stuff like that. It's very simple. And because of how short the game is, if you miss it on your first playthrough, it's not going to take too long to get to it in your second one. So yeah, the music's pretty good too. I actually noticed it a little bit. So,
which is saying something for you. Yes. You never talk about the soundtrack to a game, so the fact that you're mentioning it says a lot.
Very much so. It's also really good. I enjoyed it. And yeah, it's just a nice little simple palate cleanser.
Cool. So $15 on TOHU. What do you think?
Totally, I think it's worth that. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it for you. I know you're tired. We'll let you get going.
Yeah, I'll see y'all later.
You have any final words before we kick you the hell out of here?
Banana. That's all, really.
So with bananas tonight? What the
I don't know. I just like saying banana.
Cole's stuck on bananas and Hitman. You have your kinky bananas that you say all the time. Like, what is it with bananas tonight?
Yeah. Bananas are kinky. I don't know.
Oh my god. All right, we got to move on. Next game to talk about is called ENCODYA, developed by Chaosmonger Studio, published by SML Entertainment, released January 26th on Steam for $24.99. One day, a little girl discovers that her father left her on an important mission to finish his plan to save the world from grayness. Tina and her big clumsy robot Sam embark on an incredible adventure across different realities full of bizarre robotic adventures, robotic creatures, grotesque human beings. Through puzzles and exciting dialogues, they'll find out the true meaning of being alive. Cole, tell us about ENCODYA.
So, ENCODYA is basically a dystopian point and click where you have a little girl named Tina and her robot caretaker who is Sam 53. Sam looks a little bit like the robot from the Iron Giant, but like a little more of a hunch over, not quite so giant. And then Tina kind of reminded me a little bit of Tiny Tina from Borderlands, if she were a more age-appropriate child. So in this future dystopia, whenever a child is born, they are assigned a Sam 53, which is basically like a nanny robot. And we learn very early on that Tina and her Sam live on the streets because Tina's mother died of a cyber overdose. In this strange dystopian world, everybody is addicted to VR. I'm not sure what a game is trying to say when it says that everybody in it is a cyber junkie who's addicted to VR. And they are living in these alternative realities that basically look the same but with more lights.
It's a little too close to home.
It does, and there's a humorous to an extent disclaimer at the beginning. It's like, you know, it's all the usual. Any resemblance to other persons or things are just coincidence. It's all fictional. It's a joke. Don't think about it too much. It also points out at the very first screen that the game makes use of a lot of stereotypes. Theoretically, I think the developer was trying to use these stereotypes to kind of show the absurdities of them, but in the end, it kind of felt like he was just perpetuating them more. I got what he was trying to do, but if you have to put a disclaimer on it, you probably didn't do it right. And I'm sorry for that. I every time I ran into like a stereotypes type of character,
like what do you mean? Can you give us an example? Without
spoiling anything, there's a robot you run into. This one particularly hits close to home to me because I sound like a fucking redneck, and it's very obvious right away that this street sweeper robot who is broken down because it couldn't afford more RAM is definitely supposed to be like people I sound like because it sounds like me, right? It's got a very twangy kind of voice going for it. And immediately you learn that this robot will not talk to Tina because she's human. And in the dialogue between Sam and this redneck broken down, literally it's labeled nasty robot. Your interactions with them quickly uncover that this robot likes to use a lot of dialogue that we would use in racist situations, but he's talking about humans as opposed to a specific skin tone. As in, humans versus robots as opposed to white versus black, but it's a lot of the same kind of dialogue, right? Okay. I get it. It's easy to be like, rednecks, they're racist. I would have far rather seen something that subverted that stereotype rather than just leaned into it. We get that shit a lot. As somebody who sounds like I crawled out of a trailer heap in the middle of Appalachia. We get that, if you sound like that, you're clearly racist shit, No. And it would be far better rather than like leaning into it and being like, this is how, you perceive people like this. Like, just, you could have just made that character have that accent and not been a racist dick. And found another way to carry out that kind of conversation. It didn't have to be a play on the stereotype that perpetuated the stereotype. Does that make sense?
No.
That's my beef. I hate that. That is such a cheap cop-out to be like, I'm trying to show why it's bad, and then perpetuate it. Show why it's bad by subverting it, and you might get a little further. Trash Rando says, did he learn a lesson at the end? No. You provide him his parts and carry on. And that's, again, like, there's no learning to it. It's just, you do what they tell you to do regardless of what they say to you. It's a point and click. Gameplay wise, you're just clicking around trying to find things. It has 2 different difficulties. So you can have hints or not have hints, basically, is what it boils down to with the difficulties. Hints are helpful, especially your first time through, because a lot of the solutions are kind of obtuse. There's either everything like relies on really obvious, find a fuse, put it in a fuse box kind of problem solving, or it goes way off the deep end of stick this stick to that antenna and then use it to steal keys, and you're just going, okay, come on. I've been 7 different places to find sticks and antennas and tape, and all I needed was the goddamn keys that Sam could have reached on his own. I have a robot. You can't tell me that I need to go find a stick and tape it to an antenna to steal some keys from an electrician.
Gotta go old school.
Yeah, like it really. There were just times where you were like, I have a robot. I don't need to do this. So that was really more of my biggest gripe with the puzzle solving elements. They're fine for what they are, but there are times where you're just like, there are easier ways. The robot taking it would be the easier way. I did like the element though that Nasty Robot aside and his not talking to humans, you got different reactions from people based on whether you talked to them with Sam or you talked to them with Tina. And I liked that there was that dynamic where, Tina's hungry. If you use her to talk to the guy at the ramen shop, he'll give you some fish. Whereas if the robot does it, he's like, what am I supposed to give you?
No.
So there was definitely value to switching back and forth between the characters, even if it was all my biggest gripe in every point and click is I don't know why the characters walk across the screen so fucking slow. And so I was thinking initially, fuck that, the robot's got long legs, he's gonna walk faster, right?
No.
I'll use him all the time. That don't mean shit. Like, that robot can pick that little girl up, haul it on its back, and go, okay? There are whole elements of the game that float around. We can't go there because Tina's legs will get tired if we walk that far. And I'm like, you're a goddamn robot! Figure it out!
Oh, God. Well, overall, ENCODYA, $25. What do you think about it?
I think the gameplay is there. Not every part of the story hits quite the way the developer intended it to, obviously. I clearly bumped into a few places where I was like, that could have went better. I do giggle that even though he was all like, oh, the people and places are all fictional, that mayor for that city is 100% a Trump stand-in. His name is Mr. Frumpf. He's 100% a Trump stand-in. That was funny.
Are you excited that we're not going to have to deal with that shit anymore? He's gone. He's gone.
Deviate for a second?
No.
After they banned him on Twitter, I had two reactions. I was sitting here and I was like, he's not going to start a nuclear war on Twitter. And then after a couple days, I was like, fuck, what am I supposed to read on Twitter? There's nobody dunking on Trump anymore. And now
Now people are just trying to find new ways to be insane because they don't have their ringleader online to do it anymore. So they're like, he'll come back in March with a new face and he'll be,
Oh, yeah.
And they're grasping at straws to look for people. Remember how there was Trump regrets? They're now grasping at straws for Biden regrets.
I saw you say that.
Yes, it's no, I'm not regretting shit. But there's a lot of people out there doing it. They're looking for people to feel regretful for reasons I don't know. What's anyone going to regret? What is there to regret right now? And the fact that it's pathetic. It's genuinely pathetic. But with that said, I agree with the fact that even with those nut jobs doing what they do, if I go online and hear about what the administration is doing, I'm going to actually learn what the administration is doing. I don't have to give two shits about some jerk spewing hate crime logic all over the freaking place or bolstering a bigot fan base or what have you. It's just, hey, he's signing some executive action orders. The best way to put it, I can watch the news and fall asleep again.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's wonderful.
There's a funny little take on that.
No.
Okay,
we're getting way too off course here.
What?
SML politics.
God damn it! No politics.
I was going to say, as far as the game is concerned, in some parts, when I was playing it and they were talking about Mr. Frumpf, I was like, oh, thank goodness we averted this potential future. One dystopian cannot happen now. Hooray!
One dystopia can happen, and that is the world takeover of SML because Root Beer's My Jam just subbed for the 21st month. Pernell, what do you think of that?
Fucking yeah! I think that's a very good idea. I'm glad that Rootbeer did it. You know, he should continue to sub because it's a very appreciated action on his part. Just keep subbing.
If Rootbeer takes over, does that mean we have to give him the podcast now and we don't do it anymore?
Maybe.
Oh shit!
We're
Sub
off.
again.
I'm off. Yeah, 21 months, 21st. That is crazy. You want to know what else is the 21st? The release date for our next game.
I didn't tell you if you should buy ENCODYA or not.
Well, then tell us.
I think it's a solid try it, but I think you should go into it knowing that some of the conversations are a little icky.
Okay.
Okay, now you can talk about the.
That's a long review. Next game to talk about is called Tadpole Treble Encore, developed and published by BitFinity, released January 21st on the Switch for $8.99. Base the music in Tadpole Treble Encore, a charming, harmonious odyssey. Pernell and Chris, both of you covered this one. Who wants to start?
I figured Chris should start because I've been rambling with Cyber Shadow Bob. Come on, Chris, have some gabber.
Oh, okay. Let me, sorry.
Were you playing Tadpole Treble Encore right now?
No, I wasn't. Okay. I can't without the music, so. But, yeah, so Tadpole Treble Encore. So this is a game that actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Songbird Symphony, in that you are a tiny creature, in this case, a tadpole, who gets separated from her home and must make it back to her home through delightful rhythm-based, I don't know if it's platforming. It's kind of like, it's an auto-scroller, and you dodge things. And the things that you dodge are, here's where the game is unique, is that you are actually traveling along the different parts of a grand scale, a music scale, which if you've ever seen sheet music, it's the lines that are in the sheet music where all the dots go. And I'm a musician.
Thank you for dumbing it down for us, by the way.
Yeah.
Because there's people who don't know what that is.
Of course.
I don't know the terms, but I would have been that guy. It's like, you run along the sheet music. You're a piano tadpole.
You run along the line things.
Yeah.
This one.
That's okay. So yeah, the staff, which is the lines, are separated in exactly as they are in actual music. They're separated into the lines and the spaces between the lines. And basically, there's a song that plays in the background that is, sometimes really involved in like the actual game's proceedings, and I'll get to that in a second. But so the obstacles that you are to dodge actually show up on the staff as notes on the music exactly where they should be. So you are basically watching and dodging the melody of the song and various other rhythmic parts and things like that while you are trying to collect power-ups. And, some power-ups are for refilling your life. Some of them are for score. All of it, leads to getting a score at the end, and not the score as in music. The score as in the points in a video game. A little music joke. Anyways. This game actually has a lot of music jokes in it, which is kind of great. So yeah, basically as you go from one stage to another, you can go back to like try and raise your score. There are collectibles that a few stages in, you run into a big old giant toad that like wants you to find I forget what he calls them, but they're like, enchanted flies or something. And he's like, I just want to give them a good home.
In my belly.
Yeah, exactly. He eats a freaking bird as the first thing when you meet him. Anyways. And that's the thing, is that sometimes you are, you're dodging obstacles, but there's also things like actually chasing you in the game. There's like barracudas, and there's one. Sometimes they just kind of exist in the background, and sometimes, they're more directly chasing you. And there's like cool things, like sometimes you'll hit like a crescendo, which is a high point in the music, and there'll be like a little I don't know what it's actually. It kind of looks like a cymbal, and a little circle appears around it and like closes in like elite beat agents. And if you can get to that thing and then push the button at the right time, then you'll perform a jump move, which usually will get you a better score and like will maybe even put you in a secret area where you can find stuff. Ooh. And like all the hidden items involve like doing kinds of, all kinds of like crazy stuff like that, like really going outside the lines, as it were.
I see what you did there.
And not content with merely making a game out of music, this game actually makes music out of the game because it has a feature where you can design your own levels, aka your own songs. And it doesn't matter if you don't know how to read music because it's all right there for you. Think of like the music composer feature of Mario Paint, and then actually have all the correct lines and notes, which Mario Paint never did. And that's what you have here. And you can not only play through the stage, but you can, like I said, create and share your own like actual music. Of course, cool. after you sign a waiver, or after you say yes on a waiver that basically says, if you create a song through us, then you own it, but somebody could steal it. Like they're basically saying to be careful.
Yeah.
And
don't put your masterpiece on it.
Yeah. Or if you do, like, just make sure to send a copy of the game to the Library of Congress or do the old school way and put it in an envelope and send it to yourself. Which I don't even know if that works, but I've always been told that that's a way to get a cheap, like, copyright thing that holds up in court. I don't actually know if it's true. I think that's an old wives' tale. Anyways.
Clue.
So that's
Pernell, what are your thoughts on Tadpole, Treble, Encore?
Yeah.
Well, in addition to what Chris has already said, a few things I did like about it was the fact that I'll start with what I didn't like about it because that's an easy thing to get out the way. In that the music, it's amazing how like the music is a large part of the game, and yet at the same time, from a play perspective, it's not necessary. It's like it's flavor for it. And what I mean by that is, you joked earlier about if Chris was playing it during the episode. He didn't, but I did. I played 2 stages specifically just to see, like, how would this fly if I couldn't hear it? And in the end, it works. Like, you can still totally play it. It doesn't impact the game's challenge at all. Though I will say it loses some of its zest by not having the music. Because now you're just like, well, I'm dodging spikes, whatever. But
yeah, it's not a rhythm game in that sense, except for certain parts of it.
Yes, and like that was the add-on part that I think I like a bit. Whereas early on, like the reeds that you can hit for bonus points and the symbols you hit, they start out being like, okay, that's cool, you get this bonus stuff, or hey, that's cool, it's 200 points for hitting the reed. But on some of the later stages, they add it to the hazards. So you might be getting chased by a giant fish in the dark, and when you come across a reed, you literally have to hit the reed, because if you don't, when you do hit the reed, it brightens up the area, which makes the fish scared and go back, which keeps you from getting hit by the fish. And if you don't hit the reed, you take damage. There's also like elements like that with like the symbols too, where like you might be coming up on like a school of fish, and if you don't hit the symbol, you'll swim right into them, but the symbol will let you jump over the school of fish. So it starts adding weird platform elements to the game. And I also like how themed some of the stages get too, because sometimes like the stage might go the opposite direction. Other times it might be, like they might have like a hazard like cold water, where if you go too far down the, what would you call the bottom of, what would you call that, Chris? Like is there like a name for the bottom of the sheet?
The base clef?
Yeah, I guess that would be like if you're at the bottom of it instead of the top. But
it's just the lower you are on. If it's just one staff, then the lower you are, the lower the notes. So it's not really called anything as far as I know.
Oh, okay, that makes me feel better. 'Cause I'm like, if you go further down the line, thingy.
Because that is the one thing. And as a bassist, I'm like, grr, because they use only the treble clef, not the bass clef. But that's okay, because the bass clef reads completely differently. It might overcomplicate the game to have done that. So
whatever. But there's like at one stage where like the water gets cold, so if you stay at the bottom for too long, you'll take damage. So you can't swim low for too long. And also, my feeling of the game is that it's got that easy yet challenging vibe where if you just want to get to the bottom of the lake, whoop-de-doo, you shouldn't have any real difficulty with that. It shouldn't be a problem. If you are trying to get high scores and collect all the bubbles and get all the little sparkly bits and get 100% on the stage, good fucking luck. It gets pretty mean. It gets really mean, actually. Also, did you have this issue, Chris, where like you're trying to finesse going up and down, but the game is intentionally designed so that you can't finesse it so much. You literally have, because you can hold it down to just shoot up or shoot. But
you have to travel to like a certain plane, like it's not fluid movement.
It's hard.
It is. So in that sense, you kind of have to like anticipate it. And, you know, I don't know if it's being musically minded or what, but I did notice that there's a little bit of like, if you see stuff like coming, you can kind of anticipate what's like past it. And that kind of helps a little bit, but ultimately, no, it's tough.
But all in all, like, I would say it'd be interesting to compare scores sometime. Just fucking like, you got A's? Damn it! There's an S rank in this game. I didn't even know that. Damn, Chris. But,
I got 1 A so far.
I got A on the first stage, and the rest are just like D's and C's and like 2 B's. No, sorry, 1 B. Oof. Oh. I got work to do.
Yeah, good scrub. Jeez.
Hey, you.
Well. And that brings me around to something that I like about this game, and that's that it, like, just kind of looking ahead, because obviously I didn't fully complete the game or anything like that. There's a lot of content, a lot of unlockables, and, like, it just seems like this game really wants to keep you in for a while. And again, like, having the customizable part of it, too, is really cool. And I'll tell you my favorite joke. When you're in the composition mode, you know, you have like guitars you can make. There are little guitar cymbals and drum cymbals. You can make those, you know, the cymbals are symbols. And I was like, where's the bass? Oh, it's the symbol. The symbol is a bass. The bass is represented in the game by a bass.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Before you cut us down with the what do you think of the game guy's final statement, we got to mention one more thing too, which is an interesting little element to the game, which is one more collectible in the game is considered a challenge fly, and that normally with game collectibles it might be something like, hey, every stage has one, you'll see it and you should grab it. But this game does a little thing different where certain levels have flies in them, but they don't just appear. You have to make them appear. And the only way to really know how to make them appear is by going to the frog friend that Chris mentioned. And he brings up, once you unlock it, he brings up a list of all the different flies. And he has like a general description of like what would make it appear. So like one might say that it's the famine fly. And it says, contain your urges and go on a fast, which means basically whatever level he's on, you have to dodge all the food. Or, you know, the friendly flies, just make a bunch of friends. So it might likely be a level where there's other tadpoles. You might want to hit all the tadpoles and the fly will appear or something like that. But
yeah, and don't you have to unlock the clues?
Mm-hmm. It costs a certain number of bubbles.
Yeah, that's right.
700 bubbles. But like, it's pretty interesting that that's there, and it's not just like, hey, go get the fly. It's on this stage. It's like, no, here's this weird clue, and if you come across a level where it makes sense, you should try it, and you might unlock the fly.
Yeah, I haven't caught a single damn fly yet in this game.
I caught one, and I didn't even realize it was the beat fly. And I'm like, I don't know how the hell I got him, but I must have been really rocking it because I wasn't planning for it, but I caught him. And its clue is take the world's most decadent chocolate, add wings. Oh, then again, that might not be his clue. That might be how he describes how it tastes. Now I think about it. Oh. So since I already caught it, he might not want to tell me how to get it anymore. But yeah, I was like, well, I caught the beat fly. Whatever, I'll take it. But I haven't caught the other ones. Not the booty fly. There's a booty fly.
There's a booty fly. All
right,
there's a
booty fly and there's a fly booty.
On there being a booty fly, $9 on Tadpole, Treble, Encore. What do the two you think?
Chris?
Oh, buy it. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of care that went into this game, and I'm actually surprised that it's $9. This has like, you know, I would say like what indie deluxe kind of feel and presentation to it. I mean, for goodness sakes, one of the levels sings at you. Like it literally sings, the level sings about itself and does like this song about you, and like while you're playing through it, and it's like fully vocalized and stuff. It's just like, yeah, there's a lot that went into this game, and I think that it's absolutely worth whatever it's asking for. And I think $9 is a little on the cheap side, honestly.
Pernell?
I am also on the vein of like it and buy it. At first, I was like kind of like not feeling it because I was that question about how I didn't think the music 100% connected. But once you get like 4 or 5 stages in, oh yes, it's 100% on fire, and I think it's a solid game and worth your money and time.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right, moving on. Next game to talk about is called Balancelot, developed by Jestercraft and AnvilBird Interactive, published by Ratalaika Games, released January 19th on PS4, 20th on Xbox One, 22nd on Switch for $7.99. In this satirical medieval fantasy tale, a poor squire dreams to attend and conquer the kingdom's jousting tournament, but because he's poor, he cannot even afford a horse. However, the unicycle happens to be close enough, so the epic journey may begin. Prepare to balance a lot. Chris, tell us about Balancelot.
Okay. So,
or do your best, because this is a hard one.
yeah. Balancelot, or Balancelot, is, okay, so the presentation of it kind of looks like one of those medieval paintings that people like to make the memes of, you know, where they take another meme, but they like describe it medievally. So, and that's kind of where it derives its humor, is that it's like, okay, so you're a squire who wants to be a knight, but you can't afford a horse. So you're like, well, I'm going to joust on a unicycle and make my way to the kingdom and etc. Okay, so, you know, all of that aside, once you actually start playing the game, you start falling over, because this is a game where the entire thing is based around one mechanic that you have to perfect before you can do anything. And that is that you are on a unicycle, which, you know, a unicycle is a tough thing to ride on. You know, you kind of have to rely on momentum and, you know, good leg strength and stuff like that. This game kind of takes that away from you too, because you don't really get to have momentum, and you're just constantly leaning back or forward depending on how you're rocking the joystick to like try and stay on your thing. If you touch the ground at any point, you're quote unquote dead. That includes if you're coming down a hill and you accidentally rock back just like a millimeter, and then like part of you happens to touch the hill, you're dead.
Yep.
If you know, of course, falling down holes and stuff make you dead too, but, you know, so does everything else.
If you jump over something and bump your head, you're dead.
Yeah. You have to jump on your unicycle, and you really, really have to jump. And then there's another factor, and that's that you have a lance in front of you, and the lance, you cannot move independently. You can only stab. So the lance is always at an angle outside of your character, and it will get caught up on things. It has its own hitbox. So if you run into something that you're trying to like jump over or something, and your lance like taps it, then, well, you're dead, because something else happens and, you know, you fall over. But also there's enemies that you have to fight. Those enemies aren't directly in front of you. Usually they're oftentimes below you. So you have to get your character unbalanced enough to where he's aiming his lance straight down or something like that, or down at an angle, and then you have to stab the thing, and then you have to quickly regain your composure and like jump over it or something. You know, do whatever. Oftentimes you can actually just skip the enemies too, like just kind of jump over them, and I actually recommend that. So the game, helpfully, so it has like checkpoints and stuff like that. So, you know, you have like 2 or 3 in a stage. And if you can get to that one, no, it's not enough. They need one after every obstacle, but after every few obstacles, sometimes you get one. Sometimes you have to play through a lot of stuff. And every time you die, you end up back at that checkpoint. So it's not like you just keep going until you beat the thing. It's like you keep replaying parts of a level until you get it. And just as helpfully, the game has a death counter. So I want everybody who's played this game to compare numbers on what their death counter was when they finished the tutorial level, which is level 1.
I did not finish the tutorial.
Okay, Joe did not finish. You had 118?
Yeah.
I had 57.
David had a good laugh at me, but I was struggling.
It is the game is a...
Carnage says
Carnage
30. Carnage also says it's like Trials, but on a unicycle while drunk with the jousting stick.
Yeah.
I did make the comment. I was like, fuck, this is harder than Trials.
This is possibly the hardest Ratalaika game I've ever played. However, the first time you defeat a lion, assuming that you've just been playing normally, then you'll have a platinum trophy. Because everything is just handed to you.
Yeah, it's a Ratalaika, so you literally just have to, what is it, a lion's on the second stage?
I think so, yeah.
So you have to get...
It's early.
Somewhat into
I don't think it was until the 5th.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I think it's the 5th. And I'll tell you why, because I had literally every achievement except for the lion one after beating the tutorial.
Yeah, same.
Just because of fuckery.
Yeah, I have most of the achievements, but I'm not going to bother with finishing the tutorial. This game is just so fucking frustrating to try and control that I lost all enjoyment out of it. Like, I thought this might be a cute platformer, like a tough platformer. It's a frustration game, and you need to be into those kind of games to be into this, and it's just not for me. Yeah,
to me, there's two ways it could have gone. One is, like you say, a cute platformer. Another one, I kind of like, well, depending, like you've got bad physics games that are intentionally bad so that you can have fun just like ruining them. Sumo Tori is my favorite one. That's the little free-to-play game that only takes up like 4 kilobytes or something, and it's just 2 sumo wrestlers who just can't be controlled. And they're amazing. It's an amazing game. I think Sumo Tori Dreams is the full title. But anyways, there's also like Octodad, Dadliest Catch, and, Goat Game or whatever. Untitled Goat Game. I have no idea what it's called. Those kind of games.
Goat Simulator.
And like, Goat Simulator. Thank you. That could have been like that kind of thing. Like, you're just dragging your poor squire around on a unicycle that like he keeps falling, but he won't quit. Like, that would have been so fun. But turning it into a bad physics challenge game where you require perfection on something that can never be perfect, it just feels like cruelty.
It feels mean to put 50 stages in this game because, again, I didn't beat the tutorial, and I'm not going to.
Yeah. I did beat the tutorial, but I didn't get too much farther past that. I think Cole may have beaten us all.
I got through 5 levels.
Yeah, you did better than I did for sure.
And then I was like, peace, bitches.
Well, $8 on this one. What do the two of you think?
I mean, unless all of this sounds like a great idea to you, I'm going to give it just deny it.
Yeah.
Just skip this one. It's Ratalaika has
This is one where
stuff.
This is one where you can't even go like, hey, at least it's easy achievements, because it's fucking not. It's fucking
one of them
miserable.
keeps you away from them.
Yeah. And so even still, you're like, you have to already know you're in for a frustrating time. I still think I managed to do it in like, I don't know, a half hour or some shit. But I was just like, it was the most miserable, frustrating, annoying half hour I've had in weeks. And I didn't need that kind of headache. But I got my completion, so fuck off.
And just again, like I think that it has its audience. I think there's some people like Carnage liked it apparently, so that's nice. I just think for the general audiences that Ratalaika is going for, there's two kinds. There's the easy games that are just like a breezy good time for cheap, and then they sometimes will throw out something that's like super frustrating and hard. And this is absolutely in that latter camp. Yeah, absolutely.
A4 is known for liking bad games. Thank you, Raider.
I'm a Kusoge fan myself. It's just, heck, I beat Earthworm Jim.
Try I Am Bread. Now that is like 10 times harder and frustrating. Hey, we just covered Freddy Spaghetti too.
Yeah,
like Freddy Spaghetti and Balancelot this close together. Whew.
I would take Balancelot over Freddy Spaghetti any day though, because Freddy Spaghetti, I was just like, fuck this. There's not an achievement value in the world that can make me do this.
Is there a game called Don't Spill the Water? Because then you can combine the three and you have a whole boutique. You got Freddy Spaghetti, I Am Bread, and Don't Spill the Water, and bam, you got a full boutique.
Xbox Live Arcade used to have a game called Try Not to Fart.
That'll do it.
Xbox Live Arcade indie games had a lot of bad games on the indie section.
That's kind of what this game feels like. I don't know.
Yeah, it's some quality too, like Arkedo Jump. Again,
I think it's a bad idea that was executed pretty well.
That works.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sticking with deny it on it. So
yeah, it's not even cheap enough to give it a fuck it. Why not? If it was $5, maybe I could say throw a $5 at it and get a couple easy achievements. But at $8, I can't. It's too frustrating, too annoying. Maybe if they threw more checkpoints in there to make it doable, but as it stands, it's just it's too much. So. All right. Next up is The Unexpected Quest, developed by Rionix, published by OverGamez, released January 23rd on the Switch for $15. Adventure game with strategy and management elements in a medieval fantasy setting. Embark on quests, hunt down treasures, and manage your resources as you build, battle, cast magic, and brew potions to bring order to the world. Pernell, tell us about The Unexpected Quest.
Man, that Unexpected Quest description is not what I expected it to be.
What did you expect?
I did not expect that. That's for sure, based on what I've played. So, The Unexpected Quest on paper is exactly as you read it, but in execution, the game, well, it feels a lot like a sort of like a bullet point of do this to do that to do this to do that. What the hell do I mean? Well, simple. Every level in this game consists of a scenario where you start out with maybe a few workers and a few resources, like a few facilities, and you are tasked with technically completing the stage. Now, completing the stage is obviously getting from point A to point B. However, it's getting to point B that is the challenge. So, for example, I'll give you a light variant of this. Okay, you might start out with 2 workers, a house, a place to hire more workers, and a place that produces food. What you end up having to do is send workers to collect food until you have enough food to put the workers to actual work. Then you can make them go and use some wood that you already had in your inventory to build a sawmill at a plot that already exists. So it's not like you can just like click on some random space like give me a sawmill. There's specific facilities for that or places where you can build it. Once it's built, now you're getting wood, and you use the wood to build another house to build a barrack to get a soldier, and use the soldier to kill the orc who's blocking the path to the next area of the map. Get harvest the dandelion to get the potion ingredient to get an alchemist, which you need to kill the fire golem. So you're probably saying like, what the hell? That doesn't sound very exciting or anything like that. And in a way, it's kind of not. It's a series of activities performing. And I'm not saying that that's boring. I'm actually kind of okay with that. It's just the fact that I feel like it's less about strategizing and performing a strategy game and more about optimization to get a good time. So every level is timed. Every level might have like a treasure chest or a few that you might want to find, and they'll grade you if you found them or not. And if you open the treasure chest, it might contain an item that might benefit you to have it stay in your inventory. For example, a sword that allows your soldiers to attack a little bit more strong, be a little more strong. So they'll kill enemies faster if you have them available to fight. And you have to keep it in your inventory of 6 items at all times. So the trade-off is that you can't hold on to an item that you might want to use to execute. Executable items, however, which you can get sometimes from treasure chests, sometimes they can be provided via rewards from quests, which I'll talk about in a second. They can be used to perform quick sub-functions in the mysterious quest, in the unexpected quest, such as you might have an item that says your mill will now produce food a little bit faster for 150 seconds, which means more food, which means you'll get it done faster and progress to the next goal. You might find something that does the same thing for wood. You might find a potion that will allow you to heal soldiers because while they are killing monsters for you, they do take damage. And you can either lose one to death and then replace them, which will affect your end stage score, or you can heal them so they can keep fighting. One big slight that I had about the game, no matter how you cut this, is that there is really, and I mean really, no reason whatsoever why this isn't a touchscreen game. It's infuriating to me that I have to scroll around to find, because it's a clicker type game too, in a sense, like if my mill produces food, it doesn't immediately get picked up by my workers. I have to go to the food item, drag the cursor to it with the thumbstick, click with the A button and have the guy go and pick it up. And you'll do that a lot. And you're got to like really finesse the drag, stop. Right there's the pumpkin. Push the button and pick it up. The guy go pick it up. Usually better just touch the screen and go, get that, get that, get that, get that. And then use your thumbstick to scroll around the map to get stuff done faster. Because this game is totally that style of game. But the fact that you can't click on the objects to pick them up is just nonsense. I don't know how hard it would be for them to put that in there, but they really just freaking do that.
Especially being on the Switch. How don't you have touch, like, the fucking Switch? It has a touch screen. Use it.
Right. And I've gone to the freaking, like, settings multiple times, like, maybe I missed something. Maybe it's in there and I just was blind to it. Maybe I got to scroll to another page. But now you can choose your player avatar, which makes, I don't know why anyone would care unless you have, like, multiple save files or something. And then the language of the game. That's literally it. It's like, okay, how about some touchscreen, baby? But to me, not having touchscreen really, really hurts this game a lot. But in addition to the other ways I mentioned to get resources and items to potentially unlock other areas in the stage, there's also quests that somewhat show up. And what those are is you might say end up going into one of the locations. You might kill that orc to get to the next area of the map. And in that map zone, there's a guy standing by a mine. If you click on him, he'll say, hey, bro, how you doing? If you're not busy, could you help me mine this mine? Mine the mine. Get it? Mine. Haha. Anyway, so, yeah, so the unexpected quest then takes on a new role where you taken on expected quests for these people. So, for example, the guy might say what I said earlier, which means now to fulfill his quest, you need to use the forge facility to upgrade a pickaxe, which will probably cost you like 500 gold, to a leveled ally to mine in his mine. So you get the resources through your actions to get that done. Now you mine, you fulfill his obligation, he gives you a reward. It could be like resources, it could be like temporary power-up items, it could be potions, all that stuff. And it's like, ends up being a thing that they grade you on at the end of the stage, like if you complete all the quests on the stage. And also it just helps you with your actual optimization of it, the best way to beat the stage, how quickly you'll beat the level. Personally, I believe that they're all required, but I can't confirm that because I see a quest, I'm going to freaking resolve it. I'm not going to just ignore it. So who knows? But I'm going to assume that some of them can be skipped because of the grading of them. So this game is 8 stages, which seems short, but once you start getting into the game, the levels become a fair bit larger, which means it goes from being connect 5 steps to connect 30 steps. So your game becomes fairly lengthier as you're trying to optimize a large swath of different steps you have to fulfill to complete a level. Again, it would be a lot better if I could freaking tap the damn screen, but I digress. So it's funny because at one point, early on with this play, I was prepared to deny this game. I was like, well, it's annoying. I don't like the tapping. It's boring, and the levels are fairly rote. But as you get further in, the levels expand. Even though the game ends up ultimately having like the optimal play style, like go here, then do that, then go here. And while you're doing that, you have just enough time to do that. The trick and the reason why I respect it is because it's not the fact that it has one optimal method to get to the stage. It's that you have to figure that out yourself. And you're not likely going to figure it out yourself. You're going to be sitting there spinning your wheels like, crap, I'm forgetting something. What do I need to do to get past this thing? Oh, yeah, I have a freaking house right over here. I can just activate the house and get the guy in there so he can come out and do the extra labor needed to move that brick. Duh! So you still have to go through the processes of resolving the path in your head. That is the game, and that's the work. So to me, that's fun. I'm fine with that, and I enjoy that concept. I'm a guy who likes to come up with like optimal methods, optimal routines. So I'm okay with that. But Jesus freaking Christ, give me touchscreen support. I have 2 styluses over here. Just do it. This game would have been a buy it for me if I could at least tap the screen. And people might say, well, that's not such a big deal, Pernell. I mean, it's just touchscreen. But really, the whole game is clicking objects. So the fact that you can't actually click the objects, it makes no sense to me. And it adds to the frustration and the time and the having to constantly finesse the cursor over a small pile of debris because the objects aren't large and there's no zoom button. So it really is like that. And heaven help you if you have one of those poor consoles that has drift on it, because you're fucked. So you're just straight up boned. So, but I digress. Ultimately, I feel as though this game is deserving of a try it. Just know that even though they describe it as like a strategy game and whatnot, it really is just optimized moves. Not so much like you're strategizing against an opponent. You see a map, it has things that need to be done on it, and you just fulfill the optimal steps to get those things done. That's the game. And that's fine. Just a little bit of misleading advertising, in my opinion. But it's not a bad game.
Well, then $15 your official verdict.
I think it's a try.
Cool, sounds good.
Yeah, right? No, it's unexpectedly even.
Oh, man. All right, we got one final game to talk about tonight. That is called Ultimate Summer, developed by Asmodev, published by Ultimate Games, released January 15th on Steam Early Access for $3.99. A mix of tower defense with classic shooter, gather resources, place traps, build towers, and buy weapons to exterminate waves of a united forces of heaven, hell, purgatory, Cthulhu, carnivores, and aliens. Chris, what the hell is this game?
I know, what the hell, right? Well, okay. So I feel like the description is they're really attempting to oversell the thing. Because you're like, okay, all that, but for $4? Okay. But actually, this is from the same developer as Infernal Radiation, which I talked about recently. So this is, I guess, Asmodev.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it actually features a lot of the same look and kind of setting, and as the last game. And you remember that I said, there was a. You play as a priest, and like the first person that you run into is somebody with a pig mask who is on fire named Marvin Scoosher. Well, this is a person in a pig mask named Marvin that stars in this game, so I think this might be the same character. So there's a little bit of a crossover, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's got that same overwrought, but not entirely in that good of English, like, dialogue done in a comic book style, exactly like the other game, except that the gameplay of this one is different. Instead of being an RPG where, a timing-based RPG, this is straight up like an action game. They call it a shooter, but like classic shooting action, but you start with an axe. And so basically, the way it goes is that after a bit of the level, which again, I'm not going to even try and explain the story. It's they had a hard enough job of that themselves, because the premise of it is that you are Marvin, axe wielding butcher, quote unquote, turned poet, who is trying to keep waves of demonic monsters away from a penguin in a washing machine. It's it's kind of a Mad Libs plot, to be sure, but sure enough, in the center of the map there is there's a giant washing machine, and there's a penguin inside, and that is who you must protect against the onslaught of demons. Now, here's the thing about it. I think they knew the limits of what a small, I think even maybe one person, but it could be more than one person. I actually didn't check the credits. I could have done that. Anyways, but a small Unity game like this that costs $4, there's limits. So therefore, they tried to make the action as fast as possible, and they kept the challenge, in managing, like, mowing down giant groups of enemies, rather than focusing on combat so much. So when these hordes of enemies appear, they can't see you. They just run straight towards the goal, and you have to murder them on their way. It's kind of interesting. And they do attempt to explain everything in the plot, including the penguin. But again, were they up to the task? I don't know. But yeah, basically, like, the gameplay involves like finding a group, like a little cloud on the map, and running after them and hacking them to pieces before they get to the dryer, or the washer. Sorry, to the washer. And yeah, so, and it's separated into days, of which there are 14. And each day they kind of introduce a new little, at least for the first part, they introduce like a new little mechanic, wherein you can purchase weapons, and every day you start off with just the axe. So you have to do this every time. You have to go get like a weapon, which the first one you get is a machine gun, which is good because of, that same day, introduces flying characters. And you have to mow them down with a machine gun, which has infinite ammo and no reload. So again, they're going for speed and efficiency here rather than making it a realistic simulation of defending a penguin in a washer with a wooden dummy with a pig mask on. Because I found out in this game that the people that have these masks on they seem to be made of wood. So again, bizarre stuff going on in this series. Yeah. And the third day, they introduce traps as well. So then you can go and purchase traps for resources. And the resources you gather just by running around before the enemies start coming in and chopping up just whatever. Like you could chop up a fence, a tree, get a bunch of wood, some metal. You could chop up a car that shows up every single day. And get a whole bunch of metal, and it usually gets you enough to purchase several traps. And then there's actually specific spots on the ground where you can set traps, and the enemies that you don't get, it'll slow them down, but eventually you do have to get to them and murder them in a big red jelly burst, which is either satisfying or not, depending on how you feel about that. So everything looks kind of cool. Like I said, it's Unity, so there's different resources that they use in here and all that other stuff. But I think that the demons look good, the characters look good, the whole thing runs really fast, which is, again, that's its saving grace, is that this is not a complex game. It's very simple. But the fact that they keep adding in stuff, and they start adding in groups of enemies that come in from different directions, and they keep it going pretty fresh. I was honestly expecting this to be extremely repetitive and feel really cheap, but honestly, I was actually having some fun with it. So
nice. So $4 on it. What do you think?
If none of that sounded too weird, then it's a fuck it, why not? Because there's nothing super special about it, but also there's nothing offensive about it. It's not a bad game, especially not for $4. So I'm gonna say try it. And if you just if you liked what is it? Infernal Radiation. If you liked Infernal Radiation, then I say go ahead and buy it, because it's a continuation of that world, which you're not gonna find in any other video game. So
yeah.
It's a worthy companion to it for sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for this episode. We made it through another one. I like how last episode Cole and I made it through in fucking 50 minutes, and now we have a guest and a bunch of reviews, and we're close to 2.5, 3 hours.
Woof.
Oh, on par.
The magic.
You guys are awesome. Love it.
No, you.
Love it.
We're all awesome. We're all cupcakes and sparkles, sprinkles, the delicious ones, not those nasty chalk ones.
I should finish with an absurdly long video game remix just to end it, something stupidly long.
I got one.
Jammin'.